This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Panorama Drivers Club is back once again. 2 hours, 20-minute race ahead of us. Multi-class, single-driver format. We're very, very excited for PDC8 because we have a brand new edition of the BMW M4 to our GT4 division and the strongest, largest grid we've had in season history. So this is going to be a very, very fantastic race that we are going to have at Mount Panorama. This series runs every month exclusively here at Mount Panorama Bathurst. Dare I say, everyone's favourite Australian circuit. Very historied, very challenging circuit. And we love to have this series. I'm David Haynes. I'm going to be joined by Mia Ott and Nick Scaraju for today's broadcast. And Mia, I know that you're a big fan of the GT4 cars. They are our fastest of four classes today, those being GT4, TCR, American Muscle with the Ford Mustang, and the Mazda MX-5 making up our sport class, but new addition to that BMW M4.
Yeah, exactly. New addition to the service and also to the series for PDC8 onwards. And it's an amazing looking car, it's an amazing sounding car, and with the new addition of X audio to the iRacing service, it's going to be one amazing race here today with the BMW M4.
Yeah, Nick, you've been with us on SimSpeed coverage for a couple of these rounds. What are you expecting to see today at the mountain?
Hey, David. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I reckon there's going to be a lot of carnage. We've got 58 cars. Just touching on what you mentioned about the BMW, yeah, we're seeing a good mix of the BMWs to Porsches. I wasn't too sure if everyone was going to switch over to the BMW, but yeah, there'll be plenty of racing, and yeah, I reckon it'll be really tight up at the front.
It's qualifying underway right now, and the drivers get one lap, one flying lap, and it is a challenge to string together a good lap under any circumstances at Bathurst with all manner of different corners and a long lap here. But in qualifying, when the pressure's on, it's going to be a challenge for a bunch of our drivers. Looking at James Foster here, he has been, I think, all but unstoppable in the TCR class the last couple rounds, and he's looking very resplendent in his colours here as he gets ready for his qualifying lap. Some changes to the TCR since last month, though, Mia. What do you think our drivers can expect to be different?
Well, if this was a week ago, it would be a very, very different tyre model, but they have recently reverted back to what they had last season, so these tyres on these TCRs are what would be familiar for these drivers, but same thing with the damage model too. It's a little bit more realistic per se than what it was last time, so it won't really affect the drivers a lot, but with these tyres being back to what they were last season, they'll be basically on very good territory.
Indeed, we had seen some TCR drivers taking overall podium positions. There's, I think, a bit more strength to the GT4 field this round, and I think the speed difference between those two classes has been extended a little bit. I think there's also been some little changes to the Ford Mustang FR500S that makes up the American Muscle class, so we'll see how our drivers adapt to that one as well. You can see on board here with James Foster as he gets close to the limit of the sixth gear coming towards the chase. A big welcome to everyone watching on Hoon TV for PDC 8. Brought to you by all of our little sponsors here. Three-Footed Monster for this round. Worm Paints, Simfinity also proudly sponsoring this season. James Foster's going to come across the line, and he is the first driver to put in a flying lap, so he goes to the top of the board for his class, Nick.
Yeah, also just catching Peter Hunter coming through with dipping into the 216. So, yeah, people really throwing down some quick laps already. We did have a bit of a look at practice before, and I was just catching Aiden Lithwaite because he was absolutely flying during practice. So I reckon these, still a bit more space for the times to come down.
A month ago, I think we had maybe 6 cars in our GT4 division. Now we have 13. So I think racing and how close it is in qualifying might be certainly improved in our top class. As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, all of the times being updated as our drivers come across and complete their shootout laps. And again, a great demonstration of the 4 classes that we have racing today. GT4, made up of the Cayman 718 Porsche and the BMW M4 GT4, which is proving very, very popular out there. TCR, just the Audi RS3 LMS in that division. American Muscle with the Ford Mustang, and Sport with, I think, everyone's favorite entry-level sports car on iRacing, the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup car. That's free base content, so popular there as well. And I think Mount Panorama is a decent track for that car. I think other longer Formula 1 style circuits don't suit the MX-5 quite as much as Bathurst would.
Yeah, exactly. And also, that car is raced on a lot of short American circuits, especially here on iRacing, and everyone Bruce Ross in the TCR car. The same thing goes with TCR as well. It's more sort of suited to, nice short circuits. Bathurst is one that actually suits it really well. It is a bit slower than the V8 supercar that's used by a lot of Australians here on the service, but I'd probably say that TCR car is one of the most fun cars to drive around Bathurst in the service. As see Bruce Ross going into Murray's here to finish off his flying lap. Through the last corner he comes, a little bit tight on exit. What will he go here? A lap, and I think he did. No, didn't get a time, so must have got an off track during that lap. New tyre model really proving in these cars that you got to warm up before your lap. I'm here with Michael Plonis, the 93 Mazda. Looks like he's about to finish his lap off too. Looks to be a little bit slow, maybe coming around to start his lap. I'll see what he does here. He might be starting his lap now. It looked a bit slow. It's another one for catch up on. Looks like he's starting his lap, so.
Yeah, just what you mentioned before, Mayor. We've only got a few cars now that haven't registered a lap time, but and it's a few of the more of the MX-5s and the Audis. So yeah, hopefully they get a lap in. Still got a couple of minutes left on the clock.
Well, don't forget we've got a 2-hour 24-minute race ahead of us, so a lot qualifying doesn't really matter. You've got to do well in the race because 2 hours and 24 minutes for a single driver is a long time. You see that Chris Polley didn't get a time on the board, so a little mistake during the lap. Richard Magaffin there just pulling it up for the cutting. So he might not have enough time to put a lap in here, but looks like one of the only cars on the circuit at the moment. But
Yeah,
anyway,
seeing it.
Sorry?
Yeah, sorry, Mayor. Yeah, just seeing a minute left. If they're not out now, it's probably going to be game over for qualifying. So looks like there'll be a few cars, starting from the back of the field, not registering a time.
No, exactly. So I think Magaffin here won't get his time in. 50 seconds left as he comes out the dipper. He might just get it, but I got a feeling. See what he does. Really sliding it into the forest elbow here. Out of there he comes. You get a good run out of here. But the TCR in this race in the draft, you're probably hitting the rev limiter in 6th gear around about the entrance to chase. 30 seconds left. I think he might get this lap in if he's lucky. But watch here, he's in 6th gear. really short gear ratio in these cars. You can't really change them. He's just hitting the red lights, hard on the brakes, use all the ABS into the chase. Oh, he just goes a bit wide. He probably won't get this lap in. Out of the chase. It's a little bit, either the cold tyre that catch him out a bit, and we hit 0, and he's just out and getting his time in.
Unfortunate,
anyway.
isn't it?
Exactly.
Let's take a look at that grid because we're gonna get ready to go racing very, very shortly. They're all gonna line up for our rolling start behind. Looks like we've got the dirt style truck, but Aiden Luthwaite there in the GT4 class is going to be on pole in class, and your overall pole sitter got Hugh McLaughlin alongside for the front row there. Michael Skurlock and Dave Oliver making up row 2. Got Peter Hunter and Edward Foster there, row 3. Kester Mack, Ben Collard on row 4. And then the last car in GT4 with a qualifying time was Adam Neal. And like I said, in the TCR division, very, very dominant has been James Foster, and he's on pole for his division there. You're going to have James Ruvolt for company. Those two have been racing together. See that there's some GT4 cars still intermingled with the TCR grid there. Got Grant Matterford, Dean Ross, Jason Markowski, Carl Ruvolt, Dave Roberts, and Ira Felberg there for row 9. The first of our American muscle cars is going to be Keith Lloyd potentially there. Indeed, that's correct. It's Martin Turner. And it was Adam Burhop, Clint Smith as well in that class. You can see some of the drivers maybe haven't set a completely representative time. And there is still some blending between our different classes. And your fastest in the sport class was Harold Stadler. Alex Poon joined him for company there, and Angus Cook, Matthew O'Grady rounding out the top 4 in that division. We have a very, very big grid here of 46 cars, Mia. So we round through the rest of your qualifiers. We are getting ready to go racing for PDC 8, presented by Three Footed Monster. Quick look at that weather. Starting actually 2 p.m, I do believe, but the track temperature right now of 29 degrees Celsius. Nick, I think that's just about perfect.
Yeah, it's great to get a full day racing. We've had, for the past couple, they've been experimenting with afternoon sessions and morning sessions. So yeah, we'll be flag to flag in the daylight of Mount Panorama.
So we're rolling. We're going to have a bit of separation between our classes here. GT4, as you can see, rolling away through the screen there. TCR behind them, American Muscle behind that, and then the Sport class leading us to the green flag for 2 hours, 20 minutes of racing. It's going to be Aiden Luthwaite. It's on the inside in his BMW with Hugh McLaughlin in the Porsche around the outside. Come through the final corner, and I think Aiden Luthwaite takes that as his opportunity to floor the throttle and get us racing at Mount Panorama. Clean so far towards turn 1 for our expanded GT4 field. They are going to have to deal with the fact that those tyres are a little bit cold right now. Look to TCR class, where James Foster, a fantastic jump away. They're battling over 3rd place there, though, and Dean Ross is going to grab a spot away from Grant Matterford. American Muscle, those Mustangs all spread out single file coming to the race start. And then our pole sitter in the sport class, Harold Stadler, still holding his class to the final corner before he gets them underway, gets that 4-cylinder away and racing, Mia.
Yeah, it really shows the advantages of being able to both Aiden Luthwaite and James Foster both putting in almost a second as they cross the start-finish line, so they really get a great jump on the rest of the field.
Cold tyres is a very serious concern in all 4 of our classes, all of them on the latest iRacing tyre model, and you've got to be careful. Those cold tyres can catch you out, but eventually they'll come in and you'll have more confidence, and confidence and precision is exactly what you need this section of the circuit across the top of the mountain. We've got a BMW in the fence at the just before the dipper, and an Audi as well. And we have our first safety car of the day, and understandably so. Cars are strewn everywhere at the dipper, Nick.
Yeah, just kind of. I didn't see how that BMW came unstuck, but yeah, held up quite a few of the TCR cars. So
It's KESTER Mac. You can see the
yeah,
car grabbing them, trying to grab a replay of that one, I think. So here's the replay. KESTER Mac, across the top of the hill there, had already gotten it into the fence, and I think he's damaged the suspension potentially.
yeah, you can see that tie rod bend, and yeah, very much a sitting duck. And the speed difference from the cars coming up behind. So yeah, yeah, bad news.
The
For the
leader
TCR
in
cars.
TCR, James Foster, then got caught up in it as well. So maybe we'll see his perspective. But as we said, he got away to a great jump in the TCR class. TCR cars being front-wheel drive are a little bit more stable on the cold tyres than the GT4 cars are. So he wasn't that far behind the tail of the GT4 class anyway, as he comes across Skyline here and then sees that strewn BMW on the left that just cannot stay in a straight line, clips him and nearly flips him on the roof there. So that is... Oh, and then he got tangled as well by more cars that couldn't see. So a tough start for quite a few of our drivers there.
Yeah, we've also got rules in Panorama's Drivers Club. You can't just stop anywhere and request a tow straight away. It's you have to request it through race control, and there is a bit of a process involved. So maybe KESTER Mac was trying to minimize damage by trying to crab it back to the pits, but yeah, it looks like it's kind of hasn't really paid off for him in that sense.
So we've got our safety car, which today is looking like a big Chevy truck there. You are not going to miss that as it towers over all of our race cars. Catch our breath, refocus on what happened on that opening lap in our different classes. So in GT4, your top 6 drivers, no adjustment. Aidan Luthwaite and Hugh McLaughlin holding on to their positions from the front row of the grid. It was KESTER Mac from 7th that had some problems there. TCR, Dave Roberts has made some huge gains on that first lap there, helped by KESTER Mac and James Foster coming to grief. I think he might have just been in the right position at the right time to grab some spots in TCR. He's always been a constant threat in the TCR class in Panorama Drivers Club before, though, so that shouldn't be a massive surprise to us. American Muscle, no changes in the top 5 for them. And one swap in the top 5 for the sport class, where Matthew O'Grady's grabbed a spot away from Angus Cook. So I think really it was all about KESTER Mac and James Foster.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you also had Mike Kosky as well in the 008 GT4 class car. He was also one of the first ones involved. And you had Ruvold in the 282 car following as well, who also basically sort of set off the BMW flying in the air. And you had a couple other TCR. Basically, the entire top 4 of TCR at the start was somehow involved in that incident. So it's very, very sad for them, but hopefully they've still got a lot of time left to basically get back up to where they were and have a good chance at winning the race.
Couple of rules to keep in mind for Panorama Drivers Club. 1, full course safety cars like we see now. We didn't really want to see one on lap 1, but it was a necessity. There's always the possibility of one later on as well, deeper in the race if there's any incident. We also have virtual safety cars in PDC for some smaller incidents that requires all of our drivers to get down to pit lane speed limit for a time as a car is recovered. Also, a fuel limitation in some of our classes, Nick, might force some more pit stops than you'd otherwise expect in 2 hours, 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's correct. So both the GD4 class and the TCR are limited to 50% fuel restrictions. So yeah, they will be coming in a few times into the pits. So yeah, that strategy. American Muscle and the MX-5, you might be able to get away with just one stop the whole time, but you will need to really strategize in the leading 2 classes.
Lights are still on that safety car or truck or ute or whatever you might want to call it. So we're going to have at least one more lap here. pits have opened, and there's quite a few cars from TCR class taking that opportunity. James Ruvolts, I think, is one of them. Not surprising with the damage he's got on his TCR number 202. And he was, obviously caught up in that lap 1 incident. Got quite a bit of damage on the front of the car, but just still managed to at least be able to make safety car speed, waited for pits to open, and is presumably going to try and get that repaired. I think too early for a regular strategy call pit stop, but anyone who thinks they've got a bit of damage or is worried about it, why not come in, get that fixed and top up that fuel tank?
Yeah, that's right. But now he's going to have a really hard task ahead, so he'll have to try and pick his way through American Muscle and the Sport class to get back onto the back of TCR. So yeah, they'll have their work cut out for him, that's for sure.
It's going to be a tough restart, and it's going to be the end of this lap because you can see all the lights are off the truck now. Just got one more time around, get racing underway, and hopefully a little bit more cleanly than lap 1. Almost everyone staying out means they're going to have just a little bit more warmth in their tyres in the original race start, but still, I don't think anyone is quite in the optimal window yet.
No, exactly. We're only around about nearly 10 minutes into this race. So if you're coming in for a normal stop now, you're basically sort of maybe screwing yourself up strategy-wise maybe, but in track position-wise you are, because you'll be all the way back in the back, basically within the Mazdas, and they are really slow pace-wise compared to GT4 and TCR cars. There's around about a 20, 30 or so second pace gap between the 4 classes. So if you're a fast class in between the Mazdas, it's going to be a hard time getting through them. But for a lot of these guys who did pit there for damage, fixing up damage, they'll probably have to take it a bit more safer than what they did on the first lap. So this is going to be an interesting restart, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple drivers I can see buried deep in the pack. That's James Foster, KESTER, Mack, Clint Smith, any of those guys from the sort of faster classes who had to pit just then found themselves buried amongst our sport class Mazdas and are going to have to be very careful on the restart. Sure, they're going to have a lot more power coming up Mountain Straight on the restart. Should be able to clear quite a couple cars then. But they are still going to lose quite a bit of time to their classmates, at least in the first couple of laps from this restart, because it would suit them well to just have a little bit of caution and a little bit of patience trying to come through the field when there's going to be battles between cars in the other classes right in front of them. They're going to have to very much pick and choose their opportunities. Coming down Conrad Straight, lights off the pace truck, and you can see your pole sitter and leading driver, Aiden Luthwaite, just trying desperately for some temperature in those tyres.
Yeah, just on the back of that, Dave, as well. So there's also everyone's on the lead lap, so no blue flag. So the American Muscle and Sport won't be required to give way because they'll all be on for the same track position. Sorry, Matt.
Well, exactly that. The only car lapped down at the moment is Cam Dance, who had some technical issues. He's in the race, but he's around about 2 laps down at the back of the pack. But if you're Aiden, you really don't want to be doing Nissan in the 2019 Bathurst 12 hour and weaving when you're not allowed to, but he's stopped weaving now. We're coming out of the chase here, and the safety truck will pull off here, and we'll get our first restart out of the way.
Certainly will. So what is Aiden Luthwaite going to do for a tactic to try and get the jump here? Single file restart should give him even more space to get going as he desires. Green flag is in the air. It's a good jump by Aiden Luthwaite, and he's got plenty of space to Hugh McLaughlin behind. We are racing once again. Panorama Drivers Club looking clean in the sport class as well. Not a lot of moves being made into turn 1 just yet, although I think it was maybe Carl Ruvolt looking for one with Dave Roberts there.
Yeah, just hearing over the radio too, Dave, KESTER Mack receiving a penalty for that, causing that collision on the top of the mountain. So not a great day for him. Penalty on top of also being at the back of the pack, so...
in the back of the American Muscle class, a little bit of couple cars behind Scott Noel here, a bit stuck together. There's also a GT4 behind them and a TCR2. So the example of fast class in with the slow class. As you can see, the GT4 there of Chris Polley's got nowhere to go with his Mustangs going too wide.
Yeah, they're battling in front of him, Simon Larter and Jonathan Ben, and now you come to the section across the top of the mountain where it's even more difficult to put a move on here. Chris Polley is losing time by the minute and has to be so careful right here in his it's a brand new BMW for him, so I'm sure he doesn't want to put any scratches on it.
Yeah, you can see him. He's almost coasting as those Mustangs were going too wide into McPhillamy Park.
Sorry to cut in there, but Josh Cavallaro has had a bit of an issue. He's got some damage on the left front. It is still drivable, but he is within the Mustang, so he's probably going to pit this lap because he looks to have steering damage too. So it won't be a safety car nor a virtual safety car, but it'll be a bit of a pain for the Mustangs behind.
Yep, winds the tape back on that one. Modem simulation replay for Cavallaro. It's happened even before then, coming up the mountain.
Oh, it's happened in Solomon Park by the looks of things.
Damages on the front left. He was right up behind one of the Sinfinity 111 cars, and has he just been a little bit blindsided coming up the mountain here? Oh, he's caught the wall on the right-hand side, fed him into the left-hand side, and yeah, that is obviously going to be a bunch of steering damage, which is a real shame this early.
Yeah, he's managed to limp it back to the pit safely, so not requesting a tow, and yeah, not getting any penalties. So hopefully to see him back out there.
Action at the front of the TCR class, and interestingly, these guys are very much sticking with Jason Markowski in one of the GT4 cars, so that's probably helping Dave Roberts leading the TCR class. He's picking up a slipstream off the slightly faster GT4 car in front, but he still has a train, Carl Ruvolt, Carl Stevens and Grant Matterford right behind him here. Across the top of the mountain though, this is where this might become a problem for Dave Roberts.
Well, don't forget Markowski in front of Roberts, a teammate of his, so Markowski's probably helping Roberts here, both in slipstream and also the teammate advantage. So Roberts will be sort of liking this, but over the top, they come through the middle, great. GT4 looks to be staying its own pace, so don't need to worry about him just yet as they come over the top through McPhillamy's Park, now into the S's. TCR cast, and it looks like as well that Roberts has opened a bit of a gap to Ruvolt behind. Same thing with Stevens and Matterford behind too. They're sort of trailing in this top four pack for TCR at the moment.
Battle for our lead of American Muscle as well. So a shaky start to this race, but once we've gotten racing, the racing is looking good. Riding on board with Keith Lloyd in the 44, who's leading that class. Great angle through the dipper, but he's got Adam Burhop sniffing around every which way behind. Martin Turner is just in line as well, watching what these two in front are doing. A good run out of the elbow is critical to pick up the slipstream and the draft all the way down to the chase. I think Burhop's not in a bad position right now as we ride on board with him, Nick.
Yeah, it's great seeing those Mustangs flat out down the straight. Going pretty quick. I'm just seeing how fast they were coming down into that.
About 240 kilometers an hour is the maximum speed I've seen recorded from any of the Mustangs, as Burhop uses that draft advantage down the inside at the chase here, tracks all the way out, grabs that lead away. So good move, Adam Burhop grabs the lead from Keith Lloyd. Martin Turner just watching that go on, as we also have Chris Polley trying to work his way up amongst their battle, get himself through and clear.
Yeah, really threaded the needle on that. Knowing that they are handing out penalties on points as well, so you don't want to keep dropping wheels off and banging panels all the time, because yeah, you will end up with a drive-through penalty.
Looks like as well, second and third for TCR to swap positions. Stevens went up the inside of Ruvolt, and now these three are really close together, but this is also helping Roberts up front extend his gap by a massive margin. But now Stevens out in front, of this little 3-car pack for second. See what Rubot. Oh, Stevie's got the wall.
Oh, then he's going to squeeze Ruvolt into the fence as well. It's a shame. Second and third then coming together in the TCR class. Stevens doesn't look like he's got the biggest amount of damage, but he is facing the wrong way at the top of the mountain, and that gives us a virtual safety car. Everyone's going to have to get down to pit lane speed limit. We've seen these virtual safety car procedures catch out a couple drivers at points. Maybe even Chris Polley and some of the others here as well. So our first virtual safety car of the day is going to help Kyle Stevens get recovered.
Yeah, that was a really bad situation there. We'll get a replay on that one. And so it looks like Stevens just either got a little bit blindsided or something of that kind, and basically caught out third in TCR. Nearly got the same thing at Matterford too. Behind, it'll be a bit of an awkward situation. As you can see, they come out of Griffin's Bend. They're sort of battling together, and they're basically nose to bumper through the cutting they come. Now, I think I don't know if Stevens either was a little bit too much on turning or just was a bit too slow. He just got the curb on the inside at Solomon, then got the wall with the right front, puts the rear out into the other side too, and that got Ruvolt behind. Matterford just scrapes away with a bit of damage, but still he was involved in it. And basically, this 3-car incident, one of the worst places to do it is cause a virtual safety car.
Yeah, just a little bit too tight coming up the hill there. Clipped the inside barrier as we've seen others do before. And then poor Ruvolt behind just got squeezed into an ever-closing gap against the wall. I think someone who's going to be very happy for this being a virtual safety car is Aiden Luthwaite, because the lead that he's built out does not get extinguished from this virtual safety car procedure. Says at the speed they're doing, he's 10 seconds in front of Michael Skurlock, but you can see on screen what the gap actually is once they get back up to speed. That'll probably adjust a bit closer to 3 or so seconds. But breaking the toe, I think in all of our classes, just getting 1.5 seconds ahead of the car behind, I think it's important for GT4. It's very important in TCR, and you can imagine it's just as important in American muscle and sport. Virtual safety car is about to end, and we'll see everyone rev back to racing speed. Green once again. In fact, you get a great look from the onboard here of our leader, Aiden Luthwaite. When he was under virtual safety car, there was a yellow light on the dash indicating pit lane speed limiter. We saw that get removed and him roar back into line.
Yeah, well, he's also got a really good gap between himself and Skurlock behind. A massive gap. It'll be easy enough to have no draft. 3 seconds, as you can see, over through Mount Straight now. Luthwaite into Griffin's Bend. See, the field's basically spread out in GT4, but I think behind it's a bit clustered together. But also as well, under those virtual safety cars, it looks like our second place in GT4, Hugh McLaughlin, spun it at the dipper, but it looks like he's back in the field now, all the way back, second last in GT4 at the moment, so that'll be a bad day for him. And you can see, looks like Ruvolt is now into the pits to fix his damage.
Yeah, Hugh McLaughlin not being able to seem to catch a break. I know that he had issues in the last couple of PDCs running over the last couple of months. It can all slip through your hands so quickly, and yeah, he was right on pace last month, so yeah, real shame.
Yeah, you can see the damage on the front right in places there for McLaughlin, so he's also behind first and second in TCR, who he's going to have to catch up to and try and work his way past. I think he'll just be trying to hang out there until the pit window properly opens for him, as he burns off more fuel and we continue racing.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult as well because he's got that front damage on the car. It'll probably cause him a bit of straight line disadvantage and also a bit of more fuel consumption than what he's hoping for. You can see our pole sitter in TCR, James Foster, looking to grab 6th place from that 34 machine in front of him.
Yeah, obviously Foster from pole was leading his class when he got caught up in that lap 1 incident. We had the safety car that's let Foster fix up his car, but it obviously had him quite deep in the pack. He's worked through Sport and American Muscle. Now he's battling cars in his own class and has his sights set on Richard McGoffin here as they're going to power down Conrod Straight. We might even see Foster hit the limiter in 6th gear. And Peter MATTSON, dramas for him. That is well off the course at the exit of the chase. Might have avoided the wall. Here's Foster, dominant move, using the slipstream to perfection. Great run out of the elbow. Gets him back up into 6th place in classes. He's obviously one of the fastest TCR drivers we have, and despite that lap 1 incident, cannot count him out as a potential winner in his class today. And here's a replay. We're looking at GRIMA and MATTSON. What has happened for them? I think MATTSON's just been distracted by GRIMA letting some of the cars through. He's gone off the circuit a long way.
Yeah,
MATTSON did avoid the wall though.
Yeah, I think MATTSON just sort of got either spooked or didn't have enough front grip than he thought, and understeered off into the chase and went so deep into the gravel trap. But they both continued on, thankfully. So hopefully they get their cars back up to speed and also fix as well, because it looks like they both have damage too to those cars, not caused by that incident, but caused by other incidents, I'm guessing, earlier on in the lap.
Back on the live pictures with Edward Foster. He's not far behind Peter Hunter as you come across the top of the mountain, and a great balance in this class, Nick. Obviously the BMW M4 is new to iRacing and very shiny. A lot of people are after it, but quite a few drivers have stuck with the Cayman as well, and it's almost a 50-50 balance of our two manufacturers in that class.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys sticking with the Cayman were the front runners from previous rounds, so they want to stick with what's tried and true. It is open setups as well, so they might have dialed in a setup that they're very comfortable with and don't want to start changing marquees at the last minute and risking being stuck with a setup that they're just not comfortable with. So, but yeah, it's great to see both the BMWs and the Porsches. Aiden's showing how competitive it is. Yeah, stretching out to over a 5-second lead now, so really putting in those times.
They're still battling in American Muscle. That their class leader Keith Lloyd has gotten away a little bit, but Martin Turner, Adam Burhop, Daniel Stevens, Scott Nolan all fighting over second here, and Martin Turner is going to see Adam Burhop get a little bit bigger in his mirrors down the straight towards the chase here. Seeing that the slipstream certainly helps in these cars once you get them up into 5th gear, bouncing across the curb, as long as it gets planted before you have to jump on the brakes. Mia, doesn't look like Adam Burhop is afraid of any of the curbs here.
No, exactly. I think that send under the brakes, I do believe it was actually on Keith Lloyd before the virtual safety car, sort of showed that he's not afraid of anything this race. And now he's on the tail, really hard on the tail here of Turner, out of Murray's into Hell Corner here to start off another lap. Here at Mount Panorama, hard on the brakes. Don't forget, these cars have ABS too, so, and also are a H shifter. So it's sort of old school or new school style of systems in play with this Mustang. Up mountain straight they come.
He's definitely following right in the wheel tracks. Is it enough to get him closer? Especially because you can see a little bit of damage on the right-hand side will affect the aerodynamics, if indeed a Mustang ever had any. And looking for a way, and as they do this, you can see Keith Lloyd in the lead of the class, grabbing an extra second or so here and there. Be trying to get away from Turner and Burhop and those drivers behind, and they are doing what they can to keep close and keep pace.
Yeah, I was just watching at the back of the pack at the moment, behind some of those Mustangs. Carl Ruwalt, who's absolutely just picking them off one by one. So we'll see him soon back onto this bunch of Mustangs.
Yeah, he had to make that pit stop for damage repairs under green flag conditions because just as he came into pit road, the virtual safety car ended. So that's cost him a whole bunch of time, but the car is looking good and we know he's got top 3 pace in that class. So maybe he'd like another safety car later in the race. At the moment, he's doing what he can to work his way through. Looking at Hugh McLaughlin now, looking backwards at him and the damage on his otherwise well-presented Cayman. You can see he's trying to pick off just a couple more positions after that previous issue.
Yeah, you got a couple of GT4s in front of him too, sort of helping him out here up the trail. Sorry, that's actually Robert Sawyer in the lead. He's got a couple of GT4s up in front with Hugh McLaughlin. And looks to be Markowski too, sort of, I think they're battling it out too for position in their class.
Yeah, McLaughlin gets his nose in front and grabs that spot away from Markowski. I think it's just a good exit, and Markowski knew this wasn't quite his battle to fight as they put a sport class car a lap down. That might have also helped McLaughlin. American muscle, where they're as close as they've ever been. Don't know why we take our eyes off this one, because these guys are battling as you'd expect. They're very close, but it's all fair and space given at this point in the race. Difficult position, I think, for Burhop to be in there, just trying to size up the car in front, but he's got a lot of pressure from behind as well.
Up Mount Straight they come, so they're not really as pacey as the TCR cars down the straights as you would think. They've got massive V8 engines in it, but they are sort of slow enough like a Mazda. They're sort of like a step up from the Mazda in terms of drafting ability and track ability. As you can see, they're sort of we still have an hour 51 left to go, so it's not really to see how this American muscle plays out.
Yeah, if there's no further safety car intervention, you imagine with no fuel limit that a one-stop race is possible for these Mustangs, but we'll see what ends up being exactly the preferred strategy in this class.
Yeah, much like the MX-5s as well. If you do go the one-stop strategy, I guess you are going to risk running the lacking the pace at the end of the race with pretty worn tyres. So yeah, it'd be really curious to see which way these guys go.
Well, here is another opportunity potentially for Burhop, but he just lost a couple car lengths across the top of the mountain. And that has not helped him in his pursuit of Martin Turner. I feel like Daniel Stevens.
Sorry, Dave, just to interrupt. We just had Ira Felberg head off on big accident with an MX-5 and an Audi down at the chase.
Looks like a big incident too there. That looks like something happened there. Oh no! The 38 of Grant Lynch has had a problem down to the chase, and Alvarez has had nowhere to go, and oh my god. We're gonna
run it back.
Yeah, we'll get a replay on that. It looks like a massive shot. I don't know what happened to Lynch here. Was just letting cars go, I think, and just slowed up. Yeah, and hit the wall too, and then in the path of Felberg, and just sends the Mazda into the air. And Felberg had nowhere to go, blown engine, and I think he's got more issues than a blown engine for Lynch as well.
That was a bizarre one. Maybe he could have had a bit more caution from Felberg, but there was, guess not the expected movements from the Mazda in front, just going off circuit, slow, grazing the wall here.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of an incident we had late in the race in PDC 2, I think it was the Mazda, and caused a massive pile-up.
Yeah, man, that was me.
Okay, there we go. So, yeah, that was a massive pile-up, but we're still on a green flag. They both continued on going. So, we've still got just under an hour 50 to go, but that's going to hurt Felberg's race because he's now in the pits. But good thing that was actually at the chase because they were both able to get it back and not lose a lot of time, even though there is a massive Peter Hunter in the wall at the chase. Another car off at the chase. Looks to be on the exit of it too.
Let's see what happened there. I want to imagine maybe a bit of grass was involved. looking
no.
to the inside of a Mazda, one of the Fitzthai cars. Hunter gets speared across. Just wow, that's something. Skipping
And
the
that-
tyre barrier and then finding the Armco later on. So he's tried to go to the right-hand side of Dance, who didn't quite want him there. And it does take 2 to tango. It hasn't worked out.
No, I think Dance was expecting him to go around the outside of it, but turned in, and that's what happened. You can see the GT4, because of the ABS system, sort of didn't really stop the car at all, and he was going for a one-way trip into the wall there. So sadly, Peter Hunter in the pits, and Cameron Dance still goes on.
That's 2 incidents now we've seen there at the entrance to the chase. Just the closing speeds between some of our faster cars and these sport class cars. Just, you know, drivers not having as much patience and picking the wrong way to go, trying to get around another car. Here's some GT4 cars that aren't damaged, though, and it's 2nd and 3rd in GT4. Got that blip clothing car from Skurlock looking great on the BMW, but he's being pursued by Ben Collard in the Cayman. And, you know, they're a balanced class, they're a balance of performance class, so there really shouldn't be too much difference overall pace between the BMW and the Porsche. But I have to think the rear-engined, mid-engined Porsche is always just a little twitchier on the cold tyres. Maybe after a couple laps we get into the stint, it comes back towards the favour of the Porsche. Is that what we're seeing maybe?
I think that's what we are, because the BMW's top line speed is basically a lot more better than what it is. Oh, they're getting caught up with the TCR car there, that is Ben Collard, but the Porsche's got more cornering ability, the BMW's got more straight line ability, but also another factor to consider, the BMW's tyres, from what we've all seen, is they are a little bit more on the wearing side than the Porsche. So with a race like this, it's just long enough for tyre wear to be considered. So if you're a BMW runner, you'd be worried about your tyres more than your fuel, or even, you know, getting past the Porsches.
What is going on here? Okay. Dave Oliver there just giving a big wide berth to one of the TCR cars he was trying to get around. He's 4th, and I'm sure he'd love to see those guys in front, Skurlock and Collard, continue to battle against each other. And we see the returning Ira Felberg just trying to warm up his tyres a bit there. Gonna maybe get a replay though.
Yeah, I think it was this Ira went a bit too deep.
Cold tyres gets off the circuit. Oh, he did bump the wall as well. And that's what Dave Oliver was giving plenty of room to, just not quite sure how Felberg might rejoin the circuit. Don't see a lot of damage on the car there for him.
Yeah, he was fortunate enough to hit that wall like square on, so it doesn't look like his steering's too badly damaged. He might just be able to push on. Oh, and I've just caught Peter Hunter go off at the
Chase.
go off again at the chase.
And also as well, race control giving a penalty to Lynch, I'm guessing, for that incident with the drive-through too. And now, yeah, you see again Hunter off the circuit, and looks like to be towed too. Yes, that's more bad news there for Peter Hunter. We'll get a replay. What has happened here? Has he got up in more traffic, or has he been caught out by something else?
Really unlucky for Peter Hunter to not only come off once, get his car repaired,
Oh,
next lap again, come off again.
This is not looking good. We've got 2 Mazdas in front wall. Oh, they've gone too wide, and Hunter's just had nowhere to go. Oh, that's so bad for Hunter. That's twice in a row. He's been caught up with instances like that. It looks like he's just couldn't hit the brakes more. He's hit the wall at the end of the chase. You see, watch the replay on board. The Mazda there twitches to the left.
Comes off the brakes and goes to the left as well there. So, I mean, maybe Hunter could have had quite a bit more caution approaching that, and done well to avoid actually collecting anyone. Hunter might have also been on cold tyres at that point, having left the pit lane from the previous incident. But yeah, I mean, thought the Mazdas were jumping on the brakes. One of them's rolled off the brakes, and Peter Hunter, I can be confidently telling you his day is done.
Yeah, he has sadly called it a day. He's just hopped out of the car and left the session, so that's sadly one less GT4 on the track for today. But at the moment, you can see a little bit of a battle here between the teammates.
POLLEY is off. So he's battling with Peter MATTSON. POLLEY has gone off the track. And then they've gotten very close there as well with one of the TCR cars who was getting there. Dean Ross, I think it is. So cracking battles in TCR and GT4 again. We've got James Foster, who is charging through the field after his lap 1 incident. He's now up into 4th in class, and he's behind 3rd in class Bruce Ross, and then not far behind them is where we were looking. In fact, I think this is Foster going to the right-hand side, the inside for turn 2, Griffin's Bend, to try and pick off Bruce Ross. So massive amount of pace that James Foster has. Job done into Griffin's Bend, moves himself from last in class in this stint up into 3rd.
Our class leader in TCR2, so he has the pace to get the lead, you know, even after the accident he had on the first lap. Mazda there too, looks like probably 2nd in class. It is too, so really the small class hasn't moved at all in the top 2 positions. Both Stadler and Puna still 1-2. You can see there now, Foster is gone away. He's pulled away from Ross behind him. So now go catch up to Matterford in 2nd position.
And across the top of the mountain here, oh, right behind them, who was that skipping the chicane? I think it was...
It was River there, so he just shoved the brake, had the rear come out. Now you got the 3-2-2. Looks like Burhop's in the pits. Looks like he's made his stop. So either that's an unplanned pit stop or it's a strategy pit stop.
Remember, there was a bit of damage on that car beforehand, so that's been tidied up for him. And Grant Lynch on pit road there was penalised, and I think that's not the worst thing to Lynch today.
We'll go back to the TCR class because Foster has caught up an amazing amount of time in Matterford. He's now on the rear of Matterford out the chase. We're looking at our overall leader, class leader in 34, Aidan Lutherway, as well, getting ways through the traffic over the top of the mountain.
Oh, Mustang goes into the wall there.
Absolutely picking those gaps, Aidan Lithwaite. He really seems untouchable at the moment. Not a scratch on that BMW.
But we'll probably should go back to 2nd in class in TCR because Foster is on the rear of the damaged Matterford. Up mountain straight they come. Could say Foster is on a charge and a half in this car. Goes and looks to the inside into Griffin's Bend. Gets the, there you go, Matterford lets him go. He knows he's damaged and he knows that Foster has more speed than him. He's going to let him go and let him go charge up the lead. So that puts Foster 2nd in TCR class.
We got a great look at the team name right before he went and did the namesake. So great move there by James Foster going up into 2nd. He gets the spot away from Grant Matterford. Not far behind. Another battle in that class. The battles are always close in TCR class, and they're being held up a tiny bit across the mountain here by Peter MATTSON. So that's not precisely what Ruvolt wants across the top of the mountain. Might help him get a tow on the long mountain and Conrod Straits, but here it might be just backing Ruvolt up into Dean Ross.
Yeah, it is. Mattson's not really doing a good job letting him go. We're going to replay here.
On the lane, and I think we're going to see what happened there. Slow on the way into the chase, already nursing some damage potentially. I think the damage was well before that. You see on the front left there, McGoffin's just keeping it out of everyone's way. And is this surely can't be a repeat of Barry hit the wall earlier. Bounced off one of the curbs, nose first into the wall at the top of the S's just after Skyline.
Yeah, and I think as well, what we saw him slow down at Chase, he actually blown the motor halfway down the chase, or halfway down Conrod, I should say. So he's sort of done what the namesake of the strike has done, but it wasn't overdoing the engine. It was more damage. You see here, Ross is now on the rear, Dean Ross, we should say, on the rear bumper of Ruvolt, with around the outside, pulls it off. Ruvolt had to get the curb, but an amazing move there by Dean Ross puts himself now up into 5th in class.
A great move by Dean Ross there, swooping around the outside of James Ruvolt at the chase. Not a move you quite might have expected, but he's done it to perfection. Leader of your sport class, which we haven't given a whole lot of attention, unfortunately, to these little cars, but Harold Stadler leading that one by 9 seconds, as you can see, over Calix Poon, and then Angus Cook in third, another 11 seconds or so behind that. So they've unfortunately strung out a little bit in that class.
You can see a bit of damage there to the right of Calix Poon's car, so probably a bit of damage with traffic, but he's just sort of a bit far back from Stadler in front, just on nearly 10 seconds now between first and second in that class.
Just seeing a few people picking through the lap traffic now, so yeah, really mixed together at the moment.
Grima on the lane. He's got a bit of damage on the car. But for the GT4 cars that are yet to pit, it's with a 50% tank limit, it's maybe getting towards the time. So we'll see. I'm on the lane for the second time, but everyone else in that class yet to pit. So Aiden Luthwaite leading, no pit stops yet, and he's running started lap 17 now.
Yeah, still got an hour and 30 left to go and some change too in this race. So I'll probably be saying you'll be probably seeing GT4s in the lane the next few laps, going off their fuel limit. But Luthwaite is classing the field at the moment. 13.8 seconds to his nearest class rival, and he's going for it. There's nothing really to stop him. As you can see there, a bit of traffic with what were the battling TCR cars of 5th and 6th in the class, and you've got a couple of GT4s in there too. And now Markowski comes into the lane to take his first stop of probably 2 today for the GT4 class.
I think if you're coming in now from the GT4 class, you are committing yourself to making another stop. I've tried to do some back-of-the-envelope numbers, and I think a 50% tank for the GT4 class cars might see them able to do about 70 minutes. So I think a one-stop might be possible in that class, but certainly if you're pitting now, before the halfway point of the race, you're basically committing yourself to a 2-stop there.
I think it might be a bit shorter with the fuel stop. It might be, around about 50 minutes. I think they're all making stops now. So I'm guessing they're making 2 stops, either for tyres, for the tyre strategy, or just to get a bit of fuel on the road, maybe run a bit more quicker laps in some clear air. Try and figure out like some of this field has at the moment. You can see Roberts now out in the front of the field, or in the TCR class, you mean, and Foster hasn't really caught that gap up so far just yet. He's about 10 seconds back behind Roberts. So this will be an interesting race, that's for sure, as they come around for the first stop.
Foster was about a second faster on the last lap, so decently some, but not a huge amount, but it keeps going. Foster will definitely close in on the lead that Dave Roberts currently has.
Well, the best part about these two as well is that Foster has only got one bit of traffic between him and Roberts, so it's going to be pretty easy for him to catch up for now, but once they get a couple bit of traffic in there, it's going to help Roberts, gain away from the charging Foster, because I'm guessing these TCRs will be coming towards their first pit stop very soon.
Yeah, it's good to see how they're handling the tyres as well. I guess with the Audi, the acceleration braking end, they're turning a lot with the front end of the car. So yeah, they might be starting to feel the tyre wear a little bit. I guess with the track temperature at only 28 degrees, it's not too warm. So they're managing the tyres well.
Watching here, Ross and Ruvolt in these TCR cars getting kind of impatient with Peter MATTSON, who in his GT4 class car is a little bit faster in the straight lines here, but they feel like he is holding them up. I saw the exit of the chase, Ross just giving a little nudge to Peter MATTSON saying, you know, hurry up and get up the road, or, you know, get out of my way here because I'm trying to keep James Ruvolt behind me. And the TCR cars in the hand of Dean Ross is looking quite a bit stronger on the brakes, quite a bit stronger on turn-in. Being front-wheel drive, they can't pick up the throttle quite as early on the exit of the corners, and they don't have quite the speed down the long straights, but across the top of the mountain here, and also on the brakes into the chase is where Ross was really starting to feel impeded. And while the speed difference between the GT4 and TCR class cars has been increased a little bit, there's still circumstances where they are just a bit too close for comfort for some of these TCR guys.
Exactly, and also with the tyre wear is what Nick was saying earlier. The fronts, if I was in one of these TCR cars, I'd probably taking fronts only this entire race, because the fronts, they can last an entire full 100% tank of around about an hour and 30 stint, but...
Dean Ross has pushed MATTSON out of the way.
Oh, I think he has gotten a lot of impatience.
Ruvolt's trying to get through here. But yeah, back onto your point there, Mia, about the tyre strategy for TCR.
Exactly, the rear tyres can go they can probably go at least 4 hours if you could, but with this race it's going to be easily no rears taken, all front tyres, but you'll be very much playing the strategy to sort of a very knife-edge strategy if you decide to double thin these front tyres. But as you can see here, the braking power of TCR cars on MATTSON there, Ruvolt and MATTSON. I think Ruvolt will probably have a dive at him at Murray's here if he's not careful.
A lot of traffic when you go to the TV cameras here as well. So Ross has gotten through on MATTSON across the top of the mountain. Now Ruvolt is being held up, being separated from the battle in his own class he wanted to be a part of. So I imagine he's going to get a little less patient trying to work his way past MATTSON, but he doesn't do it into turn one. And that is maybe going to begin to cost him a little bit. The traffic is starting to become a real thing with how much green flag running we've had since that lap 1 safety car. So quite a few and caught up in a couple places. GT4 battle here. KESTER Mac is trying to charge his way back up through the field as well after making 2 pit stops. He's caught Jason Markowski, who we saw making his first pit stop. So Mac might be just a little bit quicker, but he's had a sketchy start to this race, Nick.
Yeah, also great work as well with staying on the lead lap. So here's the last car currently on the lead lap. Shows that he got everything back together after that, lap 1 incident, and served a penalty, and he's all back into it now.
Going to the replay here, gonna try and catch where Dean Ross sort of moved Peter MATTSON out of the way, and it was after Skyline coming down the S's, the kind of place where you expect a confident TCR driver to be quicker than a GT4 car potentially. And you'll see here, Dean Ross has got Ruvolt right behind him, who he doesn't want getting past. He's closing massively on MATTSON in places, and just sort of bumps him out of the way, and then unfortunately Ruvolt can't follow through as well, so that really helped Dean Ross there. So I think MATTSON just struggling with the twitchy rear end of the mid-engine Porsche as you drop down the hill and bounce across the curbs after the dipper.
Yeah, just catching on that replay too. I think we had one of the MX-5s slide out and clout the wall. So yeah, seeing a lot of the slower classes with a lot of damage at the moment. So just looking on
Lynch
earlier
has got
today.
a problem.
Just trying to find Brant Lynch now. Yeah, sorry, as I was saying before, Dave, a lot of cars seem to be put up in pit lane at the moment with damage, so bit of a battle of attrition at the moment.
Yeah, well, Also, as well, you know, we've only got 3 cars in the pits at the moment getting damaged because a lot of cars are still running. We'll get a replay of what's happened here.
Pretty sure that's Lynch.
I think he just went out. It looks like he went out to see how the car was and then thought, I don't want to take it around the entire track. Got a virtual
We're getting a virtual safety car,
Oh,
indeed, Mia.
close
So
enough.
motors, there might have been a bit of damage lingering on the car, and then he's popped the motor coming up the hill. Virtual safety car right now on the live pictures. Everyone is going to be doing 50 kilometers an hour, but you see here Grant Lynch did the best he could to get it off the racing line, but clearly too much damage still on that car.
Blowing an engine at the cutting isn't really a good place to blow up. You can see it on the BMW, you can see the yellow light flashing for the pit speed limit and also saying it on the dash there. So as with the virtual safety car, 50 kilometers an hour or on the pit speed limiter, as they basically clear the accidents and slow the cars down, but not to safety car speed. So, but it looks like with that incident too, with that Mazda, it looks like he had the damage because he had a massive incident with Feldberg, you know, 10 or so minutes ago, and then got the car out there and might have thought it was okay to go, and then the engine had other thoughts, and that was his race over with, basically.
Yeah, you've got to have a good radiator as well, or maybe he lost oil pressure, any number of things where might have lost the engine. Let's take this opportunity under virtual safety car, though, check in with all of our class leaders. So we're looking at Aidan Luthwaite doing 50 kilometers an hour right now. The gaps are artificially increased under the virtual safety car, so we can't quite give you those numbers. But behind him, a couple of other drivers, Michael Skurlock, for example, and some others have decided it's time to jump onto the pit lane, and they think if they can get home from here with one more stop, maybe pitting under virtual safety car, if they were in the right place on the circuit, it's a smart thing to do. Dave Roberts is leading your TCR class. He's being hunted down still, though, by James Foster. Leading American Muscle is it was Martin Turner, and then leading sport class still Harold Stadler. Keith Lloyd leading American Muscle, but the virtual safety car ends now. Everyone gets back up to racing speed as fast as they can, and being in a good place and having good reaction times might help you on that virtual safety car restart. As we're racing once again at Mount Panorama in Panorama Drivers Club.
Yeah, well, you had those two GD4s, the Collard and Skurlock. They both were basically in the right position at the right time to pit. We've got a couple of guys probably in TCR2 where did pit, but are still in the pit, so they pitted at the wrong time. But still, as you can see here now, as the gaps sort themselves out, we've got Roberts, the leader in the pits at TCR, so it looks like he thought it was a good time now to pit. So that puts Foster into the lead for now. So it'll help Foster actually probably get the time back he needs, because don't forget, it's still around about 8-9 second gap between Roberts and Foster before Roberts did stop. So this is now going to be Foster a race of time. As you can see here now, we've got a battle for fourth in American Muscle. Burholt chasing another car. Looks to be probably someone he's battled before. I can't really get the name of who's in front of him.
It's Burhop and Jonathan Bain here. So Bain's, I think, grabbed a spot off Burhop, but we remember Burhop has made a pit stop.
Oh, and we just had our first penalty. Sorry, David. We had our first penalty for exceeding speed limit under virtual safety car. And guess who it was? It was our TCR leader, Dave Roberts, gets a penalty for exceeding speed limit under virtual safety car. So that is going to hurt him a lot. That's going to put Foster now into the lead for sure. And
yeah, so a couple of drivers being caught up. At the dip up, there's another pile up.
No, there's not a pile up, sorry. It's actually Stevens. Again, another incident for him. Looks like spun it and... oh, no. Looks like he spun it. We'll probably get a replay on it here shortly, but looks like he spun it and will. Lost the rear in through the dip, in through the S's, and I think it's happened. Oh, it's another car it's happened to. Watch the rear here. It hits nothing, just the bums of it. Unsettles the rear, gets the rear out, and you can't really save from here, and then hits the wall at the front. Not too much damage, and then
I think the
he started
checkup
backing up.
behind is where some more of it.
Yep.
Oh, he reverses out into the path of some of the other cars there. Carl Stevens has picked the wrong timing there to try and get the car facing the right way after that incident. That is unfortunate. Meanwhile, we're having a lot of GT4 pit stops. So, you remember, Collard and Skurlock were able to pit under the virtual safety car. Luthwaite has just made his stop, and he's come out in third place, 24 seconds adrift of the lead. Look at the replay here. Angus Cook sees the gap on the racing line, and then Stevens engages reverse gear, and just bad timing.
I feel like that Stevens thought he had more of a gap. And there you go, Stevens gets a drive-through for the unsafe rejoin, so that's basically 3 TCR cars that have been hurt, because also Cavallaro got a penalty for exceeding speed limit under virtual safety cars, so 3 TCRs in the space of 5 minutes getting their race affected, so sad for them, but now we have Foster in the lane, probably putting front tyres on the up on the jack, same thing as Ross. Foster, he'll easily rejoin out in the lead, I believe. Ross is still out in front, making his stop yet, I believe.
Ross pitted on lap 2, might have topped up the tank then, so we look like we're getting all the TCR cars to the end of their fuel window, so we might see Ross in about 2 laps' time, if indeed he topped that tank up when he had to pit under the lap 1 safety car. They are virtual safety car we had not long ago, though. Absolute lifesaver for Ben Collard and Michael Skurlock, who were in the right position at the right time to be able to pit then. And I'm seeing about the same pit service time from Collard and Luthwaite, but Collard's now your race leader. Luthwaite, 24 seconds behind, having had to have stopped under green flag. So Luthwaite's been the fastest in qualifying, the fastest in race trim in this GT4 class, but at least for the first pit stop, bit of a strategy misstepped faux pas, or that virtual safety car's just come out at the wrong time for him. Always a risk.
Exactly. Now, I'm trying to think what the stint limit or the stint is going to be in the TCR, because it'll probably be around about 21, 22 laps, which means we'll probably see the likes of Ross and Ruwald 1-2 in TCR at the moment pit. So we'll see what happens here. We're on board here with Matterford going through the dipper. Fifth at the moment, but I do believe that's his teammate in front for position. He comes to the Forest Elbow.
Ross is on the lane. Ruwald continues into the lead of the TCR class. So your numbers are pretty close there, I would say, Mia. Ruwald and Ross both pitted on lap 2, might have topped off the tank, but Ruwald's clearly just got a little more confidence, or has decided he doesn't want to react to a fresh tyre undercut like Ross might have decided he wants to do compared to some of the other drivers. Dean Ross, because we've also got Bruce Ross in the same class. Thankfully, one of them's silver and one of them's blue, so they're easy to spot on track.
Well, also don't forget those top 4 starting. So Foster, Ruwald, Matterford, and Dean Ross were all caught up in that lap 1 incident, so they've all probably were down in the pit lane after that incident, took damage, or fixed damage, and took fuel. But now Dean Ross is out, and he is a couple seconds back from Foster. So this is going to be interesting, because we'll see Ruwald in the lane probably the next couple laps here. We've got KESTER Mack here we're seeing there in the lane. So here's Carl Ruwald. Wrong Ruwald, because actually 2 of them. We've got a James and we do have a Carl also. It's going to be confusing. One of them, they're both different colours. One of them's yellow and grey. The other one is a bright green colour. Down the mountain he comes. My guess is we'll probably see him in the next 2 or so laps in the lane.
Aidan Luthwaite is pushing on. He's just set the fastest lap of the race on his new tyres at 2:15.4. That is 4 3 seconds a lap faster than Ben Collard in the lead of that class. So he lost maybe 30 or 35 seconds to not being able to pit under the virtual safety car. He's getting it back on track, and he is flying along right now.
Off his fastest lap time. 15.4 then posted by Littleweight. The fastest lap of Collard, a 16.7. So Littleweight has the pace to get the lead. Now we've got Adam Newell in, and there's our leader in TCR. Jane Ruwalt is into pit. So we'll probably see a few more guys pit here soon. We've still got nearly half the field is still pit to take their first stop.
Everyone in GT4 and TCR has now made a pit stop. It's the Mustangs of American Muscle and the Sport Class Mazdas that can go a little bit longer, and we've got quite a few drivers there who have yet to pit. But once we see the pit stops done for Neil and Ruwalt, I think it will almost be time for a recap on our fastest two classes.
Yeah, we'll probably see that Foster will easily take the lead here from James Ruwalt, because he was a massive gap in there. Ruwalt off the jacks, down the pit lane he goes, so he is going to lose second to Dean Ross. Out of the pits they come. It's going to be a little bit of a race here, but Dean Ross will have it, but James Ruwalt here will have the slipstream of Ross up Mountain Straight to gain. So this is probably going to be a battle here after Ruwalt has got his tyres up to temperature, because don't forget, Dean Ross has his tyres up temp now. James Ruwalt has got cold, fresh tyres, or on the front at least, so bit of a difficult situation for Ruwalt to keep up with him. Actually does look like he's staying. Only just for fuel that stop.
Seeing about 27 seconds of service for both Ross and Ruwalt on their most recent stops, so probably fuel and front tyres, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
What a recovery from James Foster, though. He's now, solidly 5 seconds in the lead of this TCR class, having, been just about toast on lap 1 and had to fork his way back. Fortunately, more dramas here, though, we're seeing for Jason Markowski in the GT4 class.
Sorry, Dave. We've just had Grant Matterford come off on the top of the mountain.
Yeah, we'll
And
probably get to that one after this. So quite a bit of drama around the circuit at the minute. Looking at what happened to Jason Markowski. He's already damaged that car and had to have it repaired earlier in this race. He's just in too hot to Griffin's Bend, spins it around, nose first into the inside, and then ends up facing the wrong way. So that's tough for Markowski there. Who was it?
Yeah, so Matterford looks like he's going through the traffic here, so it looks like he lost the rear into the S's here. He's had to tow sadly because it looks to be no gap to rejoin himself on the circuit. So he's got traffic here behind his teammate of Bruce Ross. We're on the outside of the Mustang here. I think he just loses the rear under brakes here. Brakes, and there it goes. You can see just loses it. Oh, nearly hit that Mustang too as the front came round, and you'll probably see in a little bit after this, he's had to tow sadly because he couldn't find a big enough gap to rejoin the race. So
might have even, it's possible to kill the engine with a hit like that front on, but you see he had the narrow entry to the complex of corners across Skyline there, and that's meant he's had to put more steering angle in, and as he's gone over the crest, lost the rear of the car. So shame for Matterford. Look here, Aiden Luthwaite, the pace he's got, he's caught Michael Skurlock, and there is no dramas there whatsoever. Skurlock lets him go. Luthwaite now up into second. Once again, Luthwaite, even on that lap, having to pass Skurlock 2 seconds almost quicker than Ben Collard, who's now only 17 seconds up the road. So Luthwaite is on a charge here, and he refuses to be denied.
Last lap was nearly 2 seconds quicker than the leader of Ben Collard. So now, because Skurlock is now behind him, this has opened up the possibility of getting the lead again. Now we've got Calix Poon.
Was second place in the sport class.
Yep,
He's now made a stop.
So that's their first pit stop done. Damage fixed too, so that's good for him. But now Stadler is still in the lead, but he's got a massive 45-second gap to second place. So he's probably going to pit soon. But don't forget these sports class cars. They're basically a one-stop race. So
It was 11 seconds of service. No, sorry, it was 1 minute 3 seconds for Calix Poon. So that would be fuel and tyres for him, as we're 3 minutes away from the halfway point. So you assume he's going to the end from there, and he's just coming a little bit early. What are we going to see Stadler do? Doesn't look like he's diving for pit entry. He's going to stay out there. Matterford rejoining the race, presumably sometime down. And more dramas for Peter Mattson there. He's missing several body panels, a lot of crinkled panels on the front as well, going quite slow, trying to stay off the line. Let's take a replay. What's happened to Peter
tapped the
Mattson?
brakes and just lost the rear and directly into that wall there. Really hard hit too, but you can see it nearly actually puts the car back into the racing line after that hit.
He gets split. I mean, you know Hakkinen, Schumacher and Zonta, but that is much more than that. Taking a look at Markovsky, who was already struggling, and does he just he lets someone go, but then he's off the line coming into Skyline here.
Might have spun in the dipper, I think would be a good guess. Let's see through the dipper, and you don't see what's happened to him. Yeah, he spun. He's turned it over. Oh, beautiful execution there, but that's a 6 by the Russian judge, but that's sad for him. And you
knew something was wrong when the camera didn't flick over to the next shot because he hadn't moved far enough down the circuit. So Markovsky there had just let someone through. We're going to try to get the angle, and the car reverses up, mounts the barrier, and executes a perfect 360 roll, lands on his wheels, which keeps our racing green. But yeah, that is tough race so far for Markovsky, and just goes to show that these GT4 cars, they're not quite as easy as they look.
I actually have a feeling that Porsche than the BMW in terms of why because you can see we've had a couple of systems in GT4. They've all been Porsches, so it's either that the drivers in the Porsches are not really they're not really used to the way the car's driving, or it's something with the car that's sort of catching them all out. But you can see here, Revolt is still on the rear of Dean Ross here. This battle for second is still going on since Revolt did pit for his first 2 regular pit stops into the chase. They come on the rear, they're using the draft. Probably going to save a bit of fuel here too, because it'll help him in the second stop if he saves fuel. Out of the chase they come. So it's probably, I'm guessing here that Dean doesn't want Revolt that close, because Ross knows that Revolt will possibly get him in the second stop if Revolt does save enough fuel.
Yeah, saving fuel could be important from here. I mean, we saw that the TCR cars had to pit sort of 10 minutes or so before the halfway point of the race. Their final stop could be just a splash of fuel, no tyres, if they wanted to. So being in the tow here, saving a bit of fuel, and hopefully looking after the tyres could certainly work out for Revolt if it stays green all the way until the end and we don't get another full course safety car. Of the race here from Mount Panorama in Panorama Drivers Club 8, brought to you by 3-Footed Monster. We are going to take a little break on commentary here and ride along with your third place TCR, James Revolt, and then come back in a couple minutes to bring you all the way to the end of this exciting Panorama event.
An innovative magnetic mount for your camera, phone, light, flashes, or anything else you can think of. Featuring strong multi-angle magnets, a CNC machined base, and a fully adjustable head, It's the mount you've been looking for. The three-footed monster, the all-weather adjustable strong mount. In 2006, we came up with this mount, which was used in conjunction with an old-school pencil camera to capture some of these epic drifting shots. As things progressed, a better design was needed, so we made the three-footed monster, an innovative magnetic mount for your camera, phone, light, flashes, or anything else you can think of. Featuring strong multi-angle magnets, a CNC machined base, and a fully adjustable head. It's the mount you've been looking for. The three-footed monster, the all-weather adjustable strong mount.
We're back at Mount Panorama Bathurst with PDC 8 on SimSpeed TV and Hoon TV. Pleasure to have you back in the second half of the race now, going to the finish. I'm David Haynes. I'm joined by Mia Ott and Nick Scaraju. Best battle we've got right now, Dean Ross and James Ruvolt. They're in our TCR class, battling over second, and we know that they are going to have at least one more pit stop to get themselves home. This is shaping up to be a cracking little scrap between these two, Mia. They came out of their last pit stop together and they've been glued together since.
And I said before our ad break that that Ruvolt was just staying behind Ross to save fuel, because I just said afterwards that, you know, there's going to be a bit of a splash and dash at the end maybe for this TCR car, so Ruvolt's probably guessing that he's going to jump Ross in that second stop of a splash and dash. It's going to be interesting to see, because also we might add to that Foster in front is only around about 7 seconds in front of these guys, so if Ruvolt is lucky enough, he could probably steal the win off Foster here in the end.
You'll see Ruvolt also, of course, went one lap longer on the first stint, so probably carrying a little bit more fuel on board now already without any savings. So interesting little position between these drivers here, second and third. Onto sport class traffic in front of them, though, and Dean Ross, he sees them fan out too wide. That's Calix Poon there in the 59, I do believe. He's made his final pit stop and trying to put a move on some of his own class cars. He gave plenty of room to the other Mazda, just really squeezed out and backed up Dean Ross, who now has to dive down the inside of the cutting. Shallow entry there has really hurt his speed as well. So it's not just your speed on one lap, it's your awareness around traffic that I think is proving really critical, Nick. Well, we'll see when Nick comes back.
Well, also we're gonna I'll sort of add in that Foster's last lap was a 2-minute 20.8. Ross and Ruvolt behind with a 2:20 flat each. There was a separation of 0.001 between the lap times of Ross and Ruvolt. So this lap looks a bit more slower for these two guys because they've lost some time to Foster in that traffic, but it still is looking like this draft pack is going to help and catch up Foster. But we see here Keith Lloyd in the pits for here's the one and will be only stop. Now Turner gets the lead of the American Muscle class.
Indeed, Turner, one of the few cars to have being down on the lane in that class. And of course, in the second half, everyone making their first pit stop is definitely going to get to the end from here. Revolt's starting to look a bit racier with Dean Ross here.
Probably Revolt's a bit sick and tired of being behind, seeing that DSR bumper sticker on Dean Ross's car and probably wanting to have a go going by him, but Dean Ross is sort of pulling away a tiny bit. It'll be interesting to see, because also we better not forget too that these two guys are very close to getting lapped from the overall leader of Collard at the moment. We can see Keith Lloyd there off the jacks out of the pits, and now we've got a battle here for Dave Oliver, Hugh McLaughlin. This is going to be a good showing of BMW versus Porsche and GT4, but McLaughlin has got some damage on the front right of that Porsche.
Yeah, indeed, McLaughlin's been faster on the last couple of laps here. He's been catching up to Dave Oliver, who I think it's fair to say has had one of the quieter races in GT4. He qualified 4th, he's running 4th right now, and he's made one scheduled pit stop. McLaughlin's day has been maybe a little bit more topsy-turvy. He had a bit of damage on that car earlier, but now he's trying to get on by Dave Oliver. He had a good exit initially out of the elbow there. What about the straight line performance of these two GT4 cars? You can see McLaughlin still nursing maybe just a little bit of aerodynamic damage on the front right there. Does not seem to be hurting him whatsoever in the twisty bits, but you can see he's not able to close in the straight line there, Mia.
No, that front damage is hurting him. Straight line.
In 2000.
Bit of an issue somewhere. I'll see here the two cars get through. We've got an American muscle car off the track. Farewell. He was having a bit of a quiet race. I think that was either a technical issue or something, because he's just coming out of the pits there. Oh no, so that wasn't him. So he's had some issues on the track. Either tried to get at the toe. Is he probably going a bit straight ahead at Murray's or the chase?
With the amount of damage on the car, you'd hope it was Murray's and he hadn't skipped pit entry carrying that. We're going to see coming into the chase here. Farewell, all looking good so far. We'll see what happens that ends up with a lot of damage on that Mustang. We're not going for pit entry.
Looks to be Murray's either... I feel like it might have been a brake failure or something technical, because he hit the brakes, you see the brake lights go off and they come back on again just as he hits the wall, so that's weird. But at the moment he has towed back the pits, so that's a sad thing for him. He was running 7th in class, but looks like we're back here to this battle for second. It's been going on ever since the pit stops for the TCR class. So I have a feeling that Ruwalt will have a better time off after the second stop. I am feeling that Foster might lose this race to Ruwalt if Foster doesn't watch himself here with the fuel consumption.
Yeah, that's all things being equal, and assuming we go green until the end, which is certainly no certainty. Seeing McLaughlin has also been able to get past Dave Oliver in their battle for 4th and 5th there in GT4. I missed precisely where that happened, but our attention was taken away by a couple of damaged cars. This is really going to check up Dean Ross as he dives down the inside of one of our sport class cars in the dipper there. Didn't lose any track position to it.
Down the corner they come again. Now we've got under an hour left in the race. PDC 8 is sort of delivering the goods at the moment, especially in TCR for second place. See that Ruvolt's there, but he's not close. He's not as close to what he was last time. He could be drafted. Absolutely pulls him in to the rear of Dean Ross. Under brakes, the gap still sort of stays.
Behind Dave Roberts and Bruce Ross are side by side, and they just change. They fall back in line there, but they were side by side coming out the exit of Forest Elbow. So plenty of TCR action going on.
Yep.
Irif Elberg's back on the lane.
Yeah, probably for a scheduled pit stop, but so we're seeing Ben Collins here still in the lead at GT4 now. Now, we said before that Littleweight was on a charge to the lead. At the moment, the gap has stayed stable. It's around about 11 seconds. Littleweight's time has sort of dropped back down to around about the 17, 18s. So I think that he sort of lost a bit of tyre on that BMW. 77 last lap there for him. So this is going to be interesting because Collard just beat him by a tenth. Looking through the field here, looks like Stadler still hasn't stopped yet in the sport class. Probably one of the cleanest Mazdas out there too, running around there. He hasn't really hit anything at all so far today. Got a bit of, looks like a bit of damage on the right front, but not really affecting him a lot.
Could have just been from hitting a bump. It's certainly a lot more factory looking than the car in front that he's trying to put a lap down in class.
Yeah, well,
It's a demonstration of resale values there.
Exactly. You can see a minute 42 to second place at Cal Experience. So...
Remember, Poon took 1 minute of service though, and has made his stop to get to the end. We don't have a stop yet from Stadler. So then you add in the 15 seconds or so it takes to get in and out of the pit lane in addition to your service time. It's really still only 20 seconds or so between first and second adjusted in the sport class there. So he's going to need to keep that car clean as Stadler, I think.
Yeah, well, he has a good gap. He's got a, as you said, about a minute 20 take away from the pit stop. He's got about a 20-second gap between him and Calix, but at the moment, without the pit stop, he's nearly lapped up. He's lapped up in the top 5 in his class, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. We're back watching the battle for second at TCR. Nick Ross and James Ruvolt, sorry, still headed, still basically bumper to nose, running in a line. There still hasn't been any sort of deviation from that for the past 20 or so minutes since their pit stops. But look at that gap between Foster and Ross. It's down under 6 seconds now. So either Foster got involved in the traffic or these two have some pace over our TCR leader at the moment.
Yeah, it's true. On the last lap, Ross and Ruvolt faster than James Foster in the lead of the class. Foster certainly had the power and the speed to give when he's needed it, so maybe he's just caught a bit of traffic at the wrong place on that lap just gone. But we'll see. Certainly these two, if not literally, somewhat figuratively pushing each other along at the minute.
Actually, we better not forget the fact that there's a GT4 of Adam Neal in between Foster and these two, so I think push comes to shove. Probably if you're that GT4 in the middle, you'll probably let the TCRs behind you go, because you know that if you're not catching the GT4 up front, but you know you've got TCRs behind catching, you'll probably do the smart thing and let them go and battle, and then probably use their tip stream to help you in your race. Oh, Ruvolt nearly got a little bit of a tap from the Mazda there, who was just doing their own thing, letting them go off the racing line, but no harm, no foul. This will go on down the mountain they come.
Certainly right that Ross and Ruvolt are going to start to catch Adam Neal, and I think Luthwaite is now with a bit more clean air catching Ben Collard again. He's just brought it down underneath 10 seconds. First time in a while. Jay's forgotten to zoom that camera out since last time, or is this intentional? We're gonna see. Oh, 2:18 on the dash. That's a good time for Luthwaite because he's the fastest car in the class at the minute.
There you go. So 18 comparing pace, 18-1 to Luthwaite, 18-4 to Collard in front. So pace is there. He's putting it down again. So probably cooled the tires down after that massive push he had at the start. But if you're a Collard, you sort of start looking at your timing screen and thinking about what your next strategy is going to be. Do you try and go as long as you can in this stint, or do you try and sort of undercut him on tires? We'll see what they do here. We've still got 54 minutes remaining in this race.
Very slow lap just gone from James Foster. Almost 5 seconds off
Oh,
his...
is it? Oh, no, second place in TCR. Sorry to cut in. Second place in TCR has just had a massive incident down Mountain Straight. And actually, guess what? The leader of TCR, Foster there, was caught up and involved. He was caught up by a massive margin. And Dean Ross was sadly the one got involved in it. We'll see what happens. Might have been a bit of traffic here. He's got the run on Foster. Tried to get it on the grass, squeezed, and oh no! And it's caught out Cam Dance too. Actually, no, that's not Cam. I think it's Cam Dance. Sorry, I thought that was the leader of our sports class for a moment.
Need the chopper angle on that one because they were 3 wide, 3 different classes. And I was just pointing out, Foster had gone and lost a lot of time on the previous lap. And, you know, here is Foster, Adam Neal, and Dean Ross. Dance is doing the right thing, staying all the way to the left. Ross is trying to get around. He's just 20 centimeters short of having room between himself and Adam Neal there. Dean Ross turns himself into Cam Dance. So, I mean, there was just so much going on. 3 different classes, 3 different closing speeds.
But I actually think that was the GT4. That was the GT4 of Adam Neal, like I said before, was in the middle of first and second at TCR. So, but that wasn't really on anyone's fault there because Dean Ross sort of thought he had the clearance room and tried to move behind Foster. And Neal was still there and had Cam Dance on his left. So it's what I say is a racing incident. Cam Dance had really nothing to do with it, but I think race control also letting the car know, go when you can. And
Dance hasn't made his pit stop yet, though, so the race isn't over for him. He can stop now, get that fixed, and get back out there, as Harold Stadler is also going to make his pit stop, his first and final stop, he hopes.
So that's actually helped this battle for the win in TCR because our Revolt is 2 seconds behind our leader in Foster. So I didn't know that really wasn't on the books for that to happen, but it sort of helped Revolt. But now Revolt has got no draft whatsoever. So if you can push to catch up to Foster, go and do it. But if you can't, sort of stay back and sort of try and save because he knows that he's now close to Foster. He could probably jump him in the next stop.
Nick, are you with us? Did you see that one? What did you make of it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, really big incident. Really massive shame for Cam Dance. I was just checking out Grant Matterford receiving another penalty, I think, for unsafe rejoin. So, yeah, there's action aplenty all around the track. Seems to have a pretty straight-looking car, so not too sure what's happened there.
Here's Cam Dance coming onto the lane for his first stop. Everyone in our field has now made at least one trip onto the lane. Dance, I think, should still have a fast repair in his back pocket, and he can then make his fuel get to the end from here. So he'd already started a couple laps down due to some other issues. Dance, I'm sure, can still get to the end from here. The lead of GT4, you can see it on the timing column on the left. Luthwaite has brought that gap to the lead down from 15 seconds to now underneath 8 seconds. He is motoring along and has the advantage on speed to Ben Collard once again.
Yeah, just saw Ben Collard, both Ben and Aiden sliding both their GT4 cars over the top of the mountain. So even though Aiden's starting to really reel him in, Ben's not taking this line down. He's really pushing as well.
Track temperatures are actually cooler now than they were at the start of the race because there's quite a bit of cloud cover for a minute there, partly cloudy conditions, and that is going to help them, really push on. Gap almost underneath 7 seconds for the lead. You can see Luthwaite just pushing, I think, as hard as he's ever had to do this race. If he comes and wins this one, despite the amount of time he lost not being able to pit under virtual safety car, he'll have to have worked for it, but it'd be deserved.
Yeah, well, he's sort of shown that the gap, that the his pace has shown that he can do it. So it's going to be something of a miracle if he can, because I do believe there is another stop for the GT4 cars. So
Yeah, they definitely will be.
You can see now Littlewhite's got that gap to the 7-second barrier, and it's dropping as well. So we're going to have a race for sure for both the leads in GT4 TCR and possibly American Muscle too, because Burhop and Turner are 5 seconds within 5 seconds of each other. So it's going to be interesting.
Dean Ross has been given a drive-through penalty for his role in that incident we saw with Adam Neal and Cam Dance. His controller taking a couple laps to look at it, but decided he moved across on Neal and caused the crash.
Good call there from race control too, because you've seen that Ross was the only one that made a move, but that's going to hurt him.
It looked like a stopped car just on that last frame.
A lot of damage there for Michael Plonis, who's trying to keep out of the way. Might have been someone else slow across the top of the mountain as well.
Not only all the sport class all having pit stops, but it looks like all the sport class all having damage as well.
Is Stadler's car still clean? And I think Dance would have picked up a fast repair at his stop. So there's a few out there that are, still got some Mazda genuine parts on them. Yeah, there we go. Dance has got his car fixed. It's 9th in class, but where does that make him overall? I think he's 3 laps down now on his class leader, unfortunately.
Well, it was actually the back to the stop car you saw was actually 417, sort of taking a little bit of a grass detour through Metal Grape, but no damage done. Didn't get hit by anyone, so still continues on. But also, we've got another DNF. Jason Mikoski sadly is now out of this race. We've got a replay of that little grass detour there for Maynard. Probably tapped
Josh
brake.
Maynard. Oh, he had one of the I think Synergy Sim Racing cars bearing down on him. He's tried to get out of the way, and taking the unconventional line has just caught him out a little bit. See how quick the hands are.
It was Littlewhite in that Synergy Sim Racing car before, so we'll watch. I don't know if it's either Necco or it was just hitting the brakes.
He maybe just gets 2 tyres on the grass on the inside there.
I think it was, and I think it was just a sort of a case of just grabbing the brakes in the rear of the car. Didn't like it at all, especially because you're still turning there. So it's back to, looks like Roberts has, sorry, that's Dave Roberts, sorry, I thought it was on Dean Ross there for a second, but Dave Roberts is fourth, Bruce Ross, one of the other Ross brothers, I do believe, in here as well, but you can see Dean Ross still third, still carrying that damage, and is way down the field, probably 11 seconds back he is too, so, but don't forget, he's still got a penalty to take for his involvement in that wreck.
I think he's served? No, he has not served that yet, no, my apologies. So he's going to have to serve that pretty imminently, and Aidan Luthwaite, like we said, is flying along. He's got the gap to the lead down to just about 4 seconds. You can see Ben Collard just up the road here. Aidan Luthwaite trying to pick up the best toe he can on Adam Neal. They're going to go 3 wide with Cam Dance. Poor Cam Dance is probably having flashbacks there. As Luthwaite then dives down the inside of Adam Neal to try and put him a lap down. And whoa, spears across the front of him onto the grass. The exit of the chase here. That's going to cost Luthwaite quite a bit of time in his pursuit of Ben Collard. Doesn't look like any damage.
It actually did look like Aidan Luthwaite was tapped in coming out of the chase, which had speared him off onto the grass. So, yeah, not a lot of space given by the lap car.
Take a look again from Luthwaite. It was hard to tell from the first angle if contact was made. Gonna look very carefully. I mean, I'm still not sure if Luthwaite just got in hot, maybe bounced across the curb a little bit, turning in from the narrow line, or if there was contact. But either way, he wasn't helped by Neal. So it will have just rattled Luthwaite a little bit, and he was on quite a monumental charge towards the class lead. And he's just lost out a little bit there. It's stunted his momentum. I'm not sure it will have, worn out his tyres or anything there, but it's just a couple seconds lost, a little bit of confidence slightly dented.
Yeah, well, he was, as you said, we saw before, he was on the charge. He was under 4 seconds until he gets past the Mazda. Mazda having taken the shortcut there through the S's.
Tell you what class lead is close, though. Foster and Ruvolt. Now, Foster's been held up a little bit behind, not quite catching who that is, but then James Ruvolt is right on him, right in the toe, coming down Conrod Straight here. Foster's been slow just a couple laps.
Yeah,
Ruvolt.
Sorry to say that, but it's actually a Mazda that he called up to Foster in, so yeah, Ruvolt's going to look a bit racy here to Foster, so with the TCR it's probably going to change. I thought it would be a bit more later in the race, but it's now come to this, with Foster and Ruvolt both having a little bit of a jostle now.
Ruvolt was looking here and there. He's thinking about it. These guys, one more pit stop each to get to the end, and it needs to be said for GT4 and TCR, both classes can pit now and get to the end if they want to. Otherwise, if they're taking the stints as long as they can, we're probably going to see some pit stops with about 20 minutes to go.
Well, speaking of that, actually, Hugh McLaughlin did just pit for his second stop, so he's now back out on track. As you can see there, the track temp has sort of stayed the same about since the start of the race, but now because the sun's starting to drop, starting into afternoon conditions, it's going to be good to see what these tyres will do in these next 41 minutes.
So McLaughlin also got some of that damage fixed, which I think is one of the reasons he decided to jump in early. You saw when he was trying to get past Dave Oliver before, he was just missing a bit of the straight line speed, so he decided get the repairs done early and get the stop done and out of the way to get to the end. Luthwaite's back on a charge, pulled 3 seconds out of Ben Collard, the lap just gone. Got a bit of traffic in front of him now, some battling TCR cars. It is actually your lead battle in TCR he's got right in front of him, so they don't want to jump out of the way. That might have been where Collard lost the time a lap ago. Now it's Luthwaite's turn, so he gets past Ruvolt easily, squeezes past Harold Stadler. Now has to line up James Foster down the straight. Ben Collard now, though, only 1.5 seconds in front of him. Oh, squeezed the grass by James Foster there, as Foster's trying to go past one of the American muscle cars. Doesn't dare take it 3 wide, and Luthwaite gets his momentum robbed of him and squeezed out onto the grass. What do you make of that one, Nick?
So I just heard of race control for Peter MATTSON. But yeah, Peter MATTSON stuck on the fence at the top of the mountain.
This will probably be it's the second time he's spun there too. And this will probably be a virtual safety car. He's been given the right to tow, but to replay. I'm guessing tap of the brake, lost the rear and got the wall. Let's see what happens here. Yep, and into the wall. Oh no! Stuck in the wall, and then the walls put him on top.
They did not manage to stick the landing on that one that time, unfortunately. Just also finding out hard way what some of the wheels are made of. Here we go, there's now no cars between Collard and Luthwaite, as Dean Ross, who might have been in the hunt for the win in TCR, is now on the lane with his hover car. It looked like for a second. Is that for... That looks like it's for final service. I think he's served that drive-through already. So it's his 4th time on the lane for Dean Ross. He's going to probably grab a new set of front tyres with 40 minutes to go and fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, just catching the onboard of Aidan Luthwaite now. should be getting pretty close to seeing Ben Collard in his sights. You'll certainly be able to catch him down Conrod Straight now. But yeah, just as what you mentioned before, Dave, it's so narrow across the top of the mountain, so it's quite difficult to get past some of that lap traffic. It almost thought everyone was going to get through safely, but yeah, I think there's just a few touches here and there.
I think it's interesting too because Foster, he is now, they're both, the TCR and now a lap down entirely, so there's going to be no TCR on the podium today. But he is right behind Littleweight, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does with that slipstream. Same thing with Ruvold, but Ruvold's actually lost a bit of time to Foster in front of him, so interesting.
James Ruvold on the track, Carl Ruvold in the pits.
There you go. So Ruvold's sort of going to be out of each other's road, but and now leader. Oh, that's interesting because
What a move!
Littleweight,
You've got to get a replay of that one. Aiden Luthwaite has made the pass on Ben Collard on the way into the pit lane. That is not one I've seen before, so...
Well, actually, Collard was slow as he turned into the pits, and then Littleweight thought, I'll just have a little go at him here. He's passed him into the pits. You guys, we'll get a see of it. So you watch the car in front, which is the GT4 leader at the time.
Yeah, Collard was offline, slow, going for pit entry. Luthwaite just goes clear around the outside of him on the way into pit entry. That is not one you see often. Weird little pass for the lead as both of them went for pit entry. Maybe Collard had a half spin coming out of the chase here. This is going to tell us a lot because he was slow and offline. What happens? He's wide there, taps a bit of the grass, all four on the grass, in fact, and he's recovering. And then decides for pit entry. Great opportunistic stuff from Luthwaite. I love it.
Yeah, he's just...
Both of them out and away, and Luthwaite has taken, I think, no tyres for Luthwaite and tyres for Collard. Luthwaite now has a lead of 10 seconds when they were exactly nose to tail coming into the pit lane. 19 seconds of service for Luthwaite, 29 seconds of service for Collard.
Yeah, but now Robert's third and TCR's gone now. The thing is, as well, as that Foster did pit with those two GT4s, so I don't know if he was hoping that he'd get out in front of them or that he would get the draft of them, but at the moment, Foster has taken the stop, and I'm guessing Ruwalt will be probably a few laps away if he's lucky to take the second stop. But it's going to be interesting to see here. Looks like probably no, it's just basically a self-one lapping on one of the, or sort of lapping, sorry, GT4 cars, 13 of Skurlock on the 5 and Dean Ross, so.
Great strategy too with Lithwaite as well, putting a few lap and back markers between him and Ben Collard. I just caught Richard McGoffin hitting the wall in front of Collard, but thankfully not taking him out.
On the screen here, the battle for the lead in American Muscle was around about 3 seconds. Looks like...
I'm not sure Burhop's getting to the end, though. He last pitted 26 laps ago. You remember he had a bit of damage on. It's possible he came in to pit right when the window opened to get to the end, but he is definitely being caught quite rapidly by Martin Turner, and I can be a little bit more confident and say that Turner is fueled to get to the end. Turner also took 32 seconds of service compared to only 21 for Burhop, so I don't know if Burhop's still on some old tyres as well. There's a bit of smoke in the air. Sounds different than smoke on the water, but someone has damaged their engine coming down Conrod there.
And is
it
that...
Calix Poon?
It might? I don't know what... No, it's one of the cars behind. It looks like TCR car behind.
Oh, there we are.
And who is that? That's
Cavallaro. He was in the wall at the top of the mountain earlier in this lap, and I wonder if that's damaged his suspension. He's found more wall and then damaged the motor there, unfortunately. He's thankfully not laying down oil, but he's laying down smoke signals down Conrod Straight. Here we're going to see what happens to Cavallaro. This might have been the incident that we called as being McGoffin, or is this a different... No, this is an entirely different incident that Cavallaro's unfortunately had.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
Sorry, we'll just... looks like Cavallaro lost a little bit, but we'll sort of the car 7. So Littleweight got a warning for that pit entry, but we'll see Cavallaro here lose the rear three S's again. A lot of TCRs have done that. Oh, it's got the Mazda too.
And I think sent it over the wall. You might see this. Angus Cook was doing well in class as well. No, was it someone else? It was someone else. Yeah, well, then I didn't see the Mazda after that. I think it might have sent tumbling down the mountain.
Yeah, I think it was one of the Mazda, probably. Here we go, Jake Oliver.
Caught it, Jake Oliver.
So let's see what happens here, because he's going down the mountain. You can see now Cavallaro in front, loses the rear into the wall, and roly-poly over the wall, straight back to pit lane you go. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. So
At least he doesn't have to worry about requesting a tow. I guess that is one advantage of rolling it down the
The leader TCR, James Ruvolt's on the lane for his final stop. He's going to be close where he comes out relative to Foster.
Gonna have a good guess here, and Foster's probably going to get this lead here if he's not lucky enough.
If it's a quick stop for Ruvolt, he can still come out in the lead.
Jacks. Still on the jacks. He's off the jacks. He's gone now. He probably will get the lead here. See Foster now on the main straight, and Ruvolt off the pit limiter. And now the car 34 has got a penalty. That's Richard McGoffin in TCR. You can see
I think that's
Ruvolt,
just happened.
Yeah, see Ruvolt is 6 seconds there, so he's got an amazing overcut there on Foster. And like I said before, with that, when he was fuel saving behind Dean Ross, it's going to help him later on in the race, and it has significantly. It has caught out Foster. So now Foster has a 6.5 second gap to get back if he wants to win this race in TCR today. Looking at Martin Turner here, but you can see that gap, American Muscle, between Burhop and Turner. It's fluctuated a bit, but it looks to be going down. So maybe Burhop's tyres are sort of starting to go off a bit, and Turner's tyres are right there. And he's in the window to start catching Burhop.
Could be still a question mark about Burhop getting to the end from when he pitted more than an hour ago, I think. And we still have 31 minutes left in this race, so that would be a long run in the Mustang. I'm just not sure is quite possible. You never say never, and I don't have the hard facts about the fuel tank size for the Mustang, but it's it's a big tank, but it's still a thirsty car. All that means that I think they were looking closer to 1 hour 20 stints, so you really wanted to be pitting either side 10 minutes of the halfway point.
I'm looking at the stints so far. So as you said, 28 lap stint for Burhop so far, and now Turner behind is on the 10th lap of his stint. So that means that Turner has got fresher tyres, and Keith Lloyd behind is on a 13 or on a 14th lap on his stint. So out of the top three at the moment, Turner has got the tyres to get to the end, so he probably might be able to catch up to Burhop here if he's lucky.
I am not able to wind the tape back far enough to know if Turner even actually took tyres, but his stop time was 32 seconds for second, whereas Keith Lloyd in third had a stop time of 50 seconds. No, I'm pretty sure you can get tyres with the fueling on the Mustang, so we'll see, but I'm just not... I don't know if 21 seconds for Burhop is long enough to get 4 tyres. It's I don't think it's a single nut wheel rim on these things. I think it takes a while to change all 4 tyres for these Mustangs.
So that'll be
a lot of question marks on this class.
Yeah, interesting. This thing we'll see as we get on through the race. So got a replay coming up here.
Going back in time, not far enough back in time. Here is the stop for Martin Turner. 10 laps ago. Car comes into the stall, and I see the right-hand side go up. You can see there's 5 nuts to each tyre. And does he get the left-hand side done? He does. Okay. So that does look like all 4 tyres for Martin Turner. Still got to ask the same question about Burhop, though, whose stop was 11 seconds faster than that.
Well, I'm going to go back and look and see what's happened with Burhop, but at the moment you can see Turner still charging to catch up to Burhop. So, I do believe, we'll have a look here. Trying to find where Burhop pitted because it's so far early in the race, lap 13. So he pitted lap 13. Look at what he's done here. He has gotten tyres and straight away he's out, so...
Well, there wouldn't have been room to fit in much fuel that early in the race. He would have started with a full tank and probably only burned about a third of it at that point. So might look like that Turner's pit stop, which was full service, was waiting on the fuel and the tyres were done in time, and maybe the stop for Burhop was limited by how long it took for the tyres to go in.
But that actually still puts, sorry David, that puts a question to the fuel burn, because if Burhop's fuel burn is less than Turner's, then Burhop might get this race in, but if Burhop, we've got an incident. And
big incident at the
Daniel
top of the mountain.
Daniel Stevens in the American, no, that's the other Cavalier, sorry, that's another Revolt involved, and the safety car is now out. So this is going to put everything on its head. Carl Revolt there got some damage. We'll get a replay of that. Safety car is out. 52 minutes, sorry, left in the race. That might be wrong with my time there. 27 minutes, sorry. So I'm guessing this is going to be a Mustang on Mazda, or is the Mazda in front had an incident?
Well, we're going to see here Stevens and a Sport Class Mazda.
No.
Oh, already an incident for that car that then popped its motor and parked on the apex.
I have a feeling that the 15 car has probably missed the shift, because you can see he's blown the engine and spun. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. So
I think Mia's onto that. He might have been looking for 4th gear at this point and accidentally grabbed 2nd, locked up the rear axle, blown the engine, spun him across the circuit. Daniel Stevens nowhere to go. Then there's cars parked on the inside, cars parked on the outside. Carl Revolt comes through and gets collected in that incident as well, and rightly so. That brings out our 2nd safety car of the race.
So this is going to throw... This is going to throw everything on its head. So GT4 should be okay with the strategy. PCR is now going to be interesting because Revolt's in front of Foster, so this has destroyed everything that Revolt had on Foster. And this is also probably going to bring Roberts into the situation too, but this is also actually going to bring the American Muscle Class into a fight, because Burhop and Turner are very close together now. Same with Keith Lloyd, he's about 3 seconds back under the safety car. You can see
Aiden Luthwaite, is about to catch the pace truck. Then the next time around, pit road will open and we'll see who needs to still make a stop. A couple of cars getting waved around right now as we wait for the leader to go on and now line up behind our pace truck. So it raises the interesting question in a couple of our classes where people are already fueled to go to the end. I mean, Luthwaite, Collard, I think we expect to just stay out. But some of the drivers right at the back of GT4, if you're not going to lose any positions, why not grab a set of tyres? And a similar thing can be asked for some of our TCR competitors. It certainly helps get Dean Ross right back in there after, he's necessitated repairs in a drive-through penalty. He did stay on the same lap as Revolt and Foster for the win, and he looked quick. Service there for Grant Matterford.
Yeah, so Matterford taking some tyres.
Did he come into a closed pit because he'd run out of fuel, or was the pit entry open for his class?
Good question, actually.
Well, it is, and I don't quite know the answer to that one.
A lot of question marks with nearly everyone here so far, but I think we can probably put a solid stamp on Lithuanian's lead in GT4 because Collard is in some traffic come the restart. TCR probably different. As you can see, they basically nose to tail on the restart will be. Same with American Muscle, but sports class I think is probably sealed with Stadler 30 seconds at the moment ahead of Poon, so
Be curious to know if they do hand out any more waiver rounds, because that could bring Ben Collard back onto the bumper of Baden Lithwade. I know they did give well, I'm not too sure if they gave it, but there was an MX-5 that did get around that safety truck very early on.
yeah, that was
Yeah, McGoffin's just being waved around now in his TCR. So Race Control now doing the manual wave arounds, and I think everyone between Lewthwaite and Collard does look like they might get waved around. You can see one car between them is now being waved.
So, yeah, the MX-5 you said before, Nick, that was in between the safety truck and the leader was just a normal one who got stuck in between, so would have had to be automatically let go.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So we've got some lap cars now getting past a few Mazdas, probably a couple of TCRs as well.
Yeah, Race Control just announcing their strategy for getting everyone past, so it looks like they are going to bring Collard right on the bumper of Lithwade again.
Yeah, they're asking everyone to line up on the left-hand side of the circuit, and cars are getting waved around the right-hand side of the pace truck. You can see there's now no cars left between Lewthwaite and Collard. Pit entry is definitely open this particular time. I don't expect Lewthwaite or Collard can afford to gamble on it, but there's definitely some cars that, if you're the last car on the lead lap in your class, taking a set of tyres now is going to cost you nothing, but then maybe make you a bit quicker than some others.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like they're letting a couple more cars through now, but you can see now that both of our lead battles for GT4 and TCR are now nose to tail with themselves and each other, so it's going to be interesting. We've got a couple more waiver rounds too, so they might probably add an extra lap onto the caution maybe, but be interesting to see what they do, because we will go under green around about 16 minutes left in this race.
Well, the lights are off on the pace car at the minute, so unless it gets extended, we're going to be going green at the end of this lap. So all of those cars being waved around have got to scamper on down the road so that they're not right in front of us when we restart.
Great work by Harold Sadler, yeah, with a really good lead over Calix Poon at the moment.
So I'm looking at American Muscle, where it's saying Martin Turner in the lead, Keith Lloyd in second, because Burhop did take the opportunity to pit under this yellow. It's put him back into third. I think he needed the fuel, but he's also gone and taken all 4 tyres as well. So Burhop there is going to catch up to the pack, but he's going to have the freshest tyres of the top 3 in his class. Got quite a bit of work to do, though, to catch up to that pack.
I was just hearing from Jay, and also just saw myself, it didn't look like that Mustang was driving completely straight as it was going up Mountain Straight. Might just be an optical illusion with all the damage it's currently carrying.
Yeah, not sure there. Trying to look who else has pitted just now, and it's basically just Burhop. Take a look there. Luthwaite's trying to make sure his tyres stay warm because we're restarting this time. No, we're not. We get extended one more lap because the wave around still need just a little bit more work. That poor pace truck. Just, you know what? It's a big loafing American machine, and it's just not used to those tight corners. And the poor barrier there. That really must have scared some of the marshals at that stand.
He's also a left-hand driver as well, so it might be a bit sitting opposite to the outside edge, just misjudging that distance.
More cars are going to get waved around the pace car this time. Seeing Ira Felberg is going to pull out a line there, and he's going to get potentially one lap back, or at least get waved around so he's not trapped.
Yeah, well, Jay on the camera there sort of picked a really good time to hit that wall cam on Forest Elbow, but I think the truck literally hit the cam, but yeah, a bit of a Tony Hawk style grind the wall, probably gain a couple extra multipliers on that one too. See the beautiful mountainside there, that's where the cars would go over the top. They go around the Mount Panorama sign. You can see that the cars now in the chase. You come here in real life and you sort of get a massive perspective, you get a massive shock on how big this track is, both elevation and distance wise, because once you've walked it you never get that out of your head, but you
never get your calf muscles back either.
It depends on how much you walk, but you can see there Martin Turner getting the wave around, same with Lloyd, so this is going to put those two now a lap down on the leaders.
Yeah, there is another handful of cars all getting waved around at this point. It's about 4 minutes to do a lap behind the pace truck that time, so I think we are going to go green with about 13 minutes left in this race. And that's going to be quite the grandstand finish that we can look forward to.
Yeah, well, we had it.
Oliver on the lane from fifth here. Is he going to grab a set of tyres, or is he... I don't think he's serving a penalty. I think he's realised he's the last GT4 on the lead lap, and he can get a free set of tyres.
Yeah, well, we had the same thing. Don't forget, David, in PDC 2, we had the same sort of sprint race at the end, and that was an interesting one at the end. But you can see Littlewhite trying to get as much heat into those tyres as he can, because he knows this is going to be a very quick stint to the end. Another one of the laps cars coming around to get a lap back.
Dave, while we're under safety car, just a quick word to our sponsors. So 3-Footed Monster, Blip Clothing, Simfinity, and Worm Paints.
There you go. Those getting PDC 8 done for us on SimSpeed TV and Hoon TV.
Yeah, and all the information for the PDs, for Panorama's Drivers Club, and a few other races and stuff that they've got upcoming, all on driversclub.net.au.
And also don't forget as well as that, Nick, they've got Hard and Fast Championship rallycross cars at some very short, twisty and good circuits. I do believe it's heat format racing, so you'll find that there. And that starts up in a month, so if you want to go sign up for that, driversclub.net.au, go sign up, and we'll have one amazing time in the rallycross cars.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the Hard and Fast series coming up. Yeah, it'll be some really exciting racing.
Nice afternoon sky here at the virtual Mount Panorama circuit. It's just after 4 o'clock in sim time, so they're all getting that beautiful afternoon sun as they come, well, behind them as they come down the mountain here.
Me and Dave, I do have one more question too that you guys will know the answer to. What else do we have on SimSpeed for the rest of the weekend?
Well, tonight is a fantastic broadcast on SimSpeed TV, the Circuit XLE series, live from 8 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. Join me again for that one.
Yeah, and also as well, tomorrow night, Sunday night, or Sunday morning, sorry, you'll see the iRacing Grand Prix series in the morning, bit of an early, and then after that you'll see the Speed Cafe GT3 E-Series 6:30 tomorrow night. So if you want to have a bit of an early wake up tomorrow, you can tune in to SimSpeed TV and watch some Grand Prix racing.
We are getting ready to get underway again, bring us all the way to the finish of Panorama Drivers Club 8. Got one little MX-5 there that's regrettably trapped between first and second, but is not going to be any dramas on this restart, as Luthwaite and Collard are going to be nose to tail for this race restart. We've also got the TCR battle deeper in the pack as well. Quite a few cars together going to be getting us racing as Pace Truck pulls in. We're riding on board with your leader, Aiden Luthwaite. He's getting ready to restart us at Mount Panorama, and through the final corner he does that, trying to get a jump on Ben Collard, and it's quite a good jump he's managed to grab as well as he heads down into Hell Corner.
Yeah, you got a Mazda there that was stuck in between first and second, sort of trying to not make any trouble, but you can see there you got the lead of American Muscle now starting to climb their way down Conrod, so they're by themselves. That means that Burhop, who was leading, is now out of the contention for that win. Now Littleweight and Collard, and then also behind them a couple of TCR cars coming through. This is a bit of a mess here for these ones behind the two leaders of GT4 side by side. Ruwalt trying to not lose pace to Foster. The GT4 there at Sherlock is not really making an easy time for these TCRs, and now
this has really helped Ruwalt because he's managed to jump Skurlock, put Skurlock between himself and James Foster. Right up behind Foster is Roberts and Ross, so we've got 4 cars battling for TCR right here, and Skurlock is unfortunately mixing it in there, but Skurlock's got to do it because here's Hugh McLaughlin in the Cayman trying to hunt him down as well, so everyone's in their own fight and can't afford to give up a couple of seconds or it'll cost them a spot.
Yeah, everyone holding their breath as they come through the dipper. Like, looks like everyone's getting through pretty cleanly so far.
actually, yeah, well, don't forget as well, the safety cars helped Dean Ross get back into contention for a podium. But Ruval hasn't really pulled away from Skurlock. That GT4 car sort of not helping Foster at all, but it is helping Roberts and Ross behind catch up. GT4 now, that's 13 cars. Got the speed going to pass Ruval down Conrod. Now Foster has got no one between him and the leader of GT4. Clutches up in the break. Really
going to hurt Foster's exit. Dave Roberts is now trying to size him up, but it's a defense from Foster. Just manages to fend off that one for the minute. You can see Hugh McLaughlin's trying to cut his way through these guys as well so that he can catch up to Skurlock at the front of this little train. He's put Dean Ross behind him, and whoa, one of our top 2, I think it was, from American Muscle in the fence. Simon Larder's got a lot of damage on the right front.
Actually, sorry, that actually wasn't our top 2. That was 4th in class, and I think he might have, I have a feeling he might have lost it a bit further up the track, maybe around the middle grade area before there. He's already got damage on the car. Let's see what happens here. Maybe wall at Solomon Park. I've got a guess. Or will it happen? No.
Well, it's somewhere between here and live.
Through the metal grate. And
Pushing a bit wide there. That'll do it. That'll do it. That's we've seen a couple 360s. That's a 720 at the top of the mountain there.
yeah, couple extra hit on the wall too for good measure, but we'll go back here to the TCR pack for 2nd place.
Hugh McLaughlin's gotten through, so there's nothing to separate Foster, Roberts, and Ross. Ruwalt is pulling on clear now that he's got a couple GT4 cars between himself. Well, he's got one GT4 car between himself and the pursuing 3 cars. It's a 10-minute sprint to the end on the Mount.
Mr. Ruwalt sort of a little bit sideways there through the S's, but this is actually Foster's already one like there, but Foster's now starting to catch up. Usually McLaughlin is a bit of a spearhead trying to get to Ruwalt in front. And now McLaughlin's going to pull away from Foster, but now Ross is looking at Roberts goes to the right-hand side of him, gets the draft. Probably be able to clear him if he's lucky enough. They're side by side, wheel to wheel. Into the chase they come. Who's going to get the position? Ross gets in front, and Roberts is going to pull behind. Nearly hits him too. Ross has gone a bit wide. Still battling here. Roberts is still behind, but now you got GT4 car behind. Probably won't bother at all of passing these two. And Ross goes offensive. Roberts stays there on the rear, trying to get the quick cross. Oh, got the curb, lost the rear. And now that's probably a couple of GT4s now got to separate him and Ross, sadly. So Ross now up into third position.
Yeah, Dave Oliver here is trying to force his way through because he's on those new tyres like we saw. He's got Adam Neal who's not giving up a lap to him, and Oliver in the last couple of laps here I'm sure would love to get through, be able to battle Skurlock and McLaughlin. That's what he wanted with those new tyres. See, Foster now has managed to close back up to Ruvolt. James Ruvolt's going to defend, but he gets so close into Griffin's Bend.
Yeah, Ruvolt sort of holds up Foster here. So it's going to help Ross get back into the winning position.
So many great battles to the end here because it's down to just 2/10. Luthwaite and Collard. Luthwaite has not been able to shake Collard on these restarts. If Collard's just precise and doesn't make any huge mistakes, then the draft is super powerful down Connor's
Ruvolt the wall. Ruvolt's got the wall. Sorry to cut in there. Now Foster's got the lead. That was a massive hit there for Ruvolt. It wasn't assisted at all. It was another mistake. He's turned in early and got the inside wall at Solomon with the right front and just absolutely hits the wall. That's the second TCR to do it today. But we'll watch the replay here. It's a pretty massive wreck just for one car. No one else was involved in it, thankfully enough. So you're out of the cutting, up into Solomon. He comes. You'll watch the right front hit the wall, tap the wall into the other side of the wall. Massive, massive hit there for Ruvolt, and that sadly has taken him out of contention for the win. Puts
Foster was super lucky to get through that one, so he grabs the race lead again. I mean, you're going to see here, he has so little time to react, and he is very fortunate not to get tangled up in that one, because that was a huge incident for Foster. He gets all four tyres up in the air, then just lightly scrapes Foster, who gets the race lead back in his class. But there's Dean Ross all over the back of him now as well, so there are 4 or 5 great battles coming to the end here, Panorama Drivers Club. I think we're going to have 3 laps to go when our leaders cross the line right now.
6 minutes 10 left on the clock. We still have
McLaughlin's gotten past Skurlock.
Well, there you go. But now the thing is that does Oliver have the pace to catch up? Looks like he doesn't. But you can see he's also behind the TCR leaders, and also Neil behind, nearly got the rear of Ross. But you can see now we're looking at the lead at the battle for American Muscle, around about a second between the two.
Car looks good for Keith Lloyd. Martin Turner has a couple more scratch wounds on his car there, but he's certainly trying to make this fight all the way to the end.
It does look like Turner 2's finding a bit of steering damage because he doesn't seem to be going dead straight down that down Conrod.
Here's your lead battle. Since the restart, they've had quite a bit of clean track in front of them, just for these two to battle, Luthwaite and Collard. Now, I'm going to catch a couple cars before the end, though, but clean space in front of them for a handful of laps to fight. And see, Collard has to work so hard across the bumps and the curbs across the top of the mountain. Lots of little steering inputs to keep that twitchy Porsche facing the correct direction. He stayed with Luthwaite. Both these guys pitted on the same lap last time, if you recall, but I said I think Luthwaite didn't take tyres and Collard did. That was the right gamble for Luthwaite if it went green to the end. But then we had that safety car, closed Collard right back in, and I'm pretty sure Collard is on some much fresher tyres here.
Yeah, it was 17 flat for Collard. Last time 17 flat for Luthwaite, but now Collard's side by side with the BMW with they had our Mazdas now catching up. 2 Fitzstar cars sort of caught them out there, but you can see Luthwaite still has the lead to Collard. Just nearly caused a massive wreck there with our sport class leader, but now on board with Foster here into the chase. Dean Ross hasn't really caught up. He's still about half a second behind Foster. So the battle is still on, but probably getting a bit... The chance of Foster winning is growing more and more as the time continues to click down.
2 to go right now, including this lead battle. And I was wondering why Luthwaite wasn't pulling away from Collard until I remembered that I think those tyres are about 22 laps older for Luthwaite than they are on the Porsche for Collard. Oh, dramas here for Bruce Ross. He's gone and lost a spot. No, I think he might have been the last TCR on the lead lap, so I don't think he's actually lost out anything from that. He's still in 5th.
The sort of rear tyres lost the rear there. But
I don't think there's a compass direction he wasn't facing at one point in that little half spin there, but he gets it going and didn't look like there was much major contact with the wall. Here's your lead battle in TCR where Dean Ross is still trying to hunt down James Foster. I think one thing that's helping Foster here is he's managing to pick up a slipstream in places off Dave Oliver, which is that BMW just in front of them.
Now new leader. Oh, Keith Lloyd has gone around. Oh no, that's the chase too. That gives the lead to Martin Turner. We'll get a replay. What has happened here? And down Conrad they come.
And I can see it's a pristine car for Lloyd and the slightly more damaged looking car of Martin Turner in the background. And what happens for Lloyd coming into the chase?
I feel
He
like
misjudged the brake.
I feel like it's probably off the curb, lost the rear. Yep, and it is so
Really
lost
bouncing
the
off
rear.
that.
But does he keep it off the wall? Just spins it around, continues on. No damage on that car, but sadly has lost the lead of American Muscle.
About to start the last lap of the race. Aiden Luthwaite's managed to build out just a couple more tenths over Ben Collard. Not as close as it was before. Maybe that difference has started to stabilize a little bit here. Pressure is certainly still on with one more tour of the mountain left in PDC8 for our leaders.
Yep, Littlewhite out in front. Last lap, 82 for Littlewhite, and it was, if we can get the time here for Collard, 18.3, so just faster is Littlewhite. Collard still has a draft, so if Collard can get a run over the top and down the mountain, he could probably get the win if he's lucky enough. But TCR lead is still, it's gapped out, so that means that probably Foster will win. Turner might probably win American Muscle, same with Stadler for Sport, but as I say, it's not over until the fat lady sings, and at the moment GT4 is looking that way.
Yeah, indeed. Collard just didn't close as much coming up Mountain Straight as I'm sure he would have hoped. But then traffic could play a role here with Wait coming up on a Mazda. Whoa, it makes contact, sends him into the fence, and that collects Collard as well.
Oh no.
Josh Maynard got collected there by Luthwaite, who was just pushing as hard as he possibly could. Maynard is stuck against the wall. A lot of damage for him.
I have a feeling that this will probably be a penalty for 7 because that was a squeeze on the wall with the lap car. Let's see what happens here because it did look a bit 50-50, but here's 7 car of Littlewhite catches up and I don't know. I feel like there's probably a squeeze there by Littlewhite and the Maz didn't want that. And
I think Maynard's given him just about as much space as could be expected. Luthwaite knows the pressure behind, is absolutely pushing on, and just comes out a little wide into him, sends Maynard into the fence, which then collects Collard. So Luthwaite is leading on track as time expires right now, but we'll see what race control has to say about that one. My goodness, drama right at the end here for PDC8.
Didn't really want to see this, but you can see now, chase the last time for Littlewhite. Number 7 Synergy Sim Racing car. He's probably going to bring that home to the win on track, but he's still got a penalty over his head at the moment.
So Aiden Luthwaite, from pole position, is going to be first across the line, but is that going to be the win for him? We don't know yet. A lot of damage for Ben Collard. He's dropped back. He's going to come across the line in second. Dave Oliver, maximum drift on those new tyres, trying to attack Michael Skurlock on the last lap to grab a position, just isn't quite able to do it. And for the TCR win, James Foster is able to hold off Dean Ross across the line there. Martin Turner managed to keep his car on the straight and narrow. He's probably going to come home for the win, but Harold Stadler, believe might be his first appearance in Panorama Drivers Club. He's been smooth and unflappable, and you can't fault the strategy either. He's going to grab the win in the sport class as it looks right now.
Yeah, it looks like Cam Dance is going to sort of slow up here and probably have a bit of a formation finish with the sports class Mazdas. But Cam Dance won the Mazda class last time around. Fitz-like car still going to win, but this time it's going to be Stadler winning the sports class in the Mazda.
Race control, say car 7417 post race review. So we're going to have to, once we see all of our cars finish, run down the order as they cross the line and then keep you updated about what we know. Someone's popped the motor there that Martin Turner is going to have to go past. I think that Mazda is just going to limp it to the finish line if there's any smoke left in it. Martin Turner in the American Muscle class, though, only one more corner to go, and he has no pressure whatsoever as he takes his class win in Panorama Drivers Club.
Probably one of the most damaged winning cars for this one, but still gets it home with an alright gap. Certainly could have been Keith Lloyd winning, but that's not the case. So
Luthwaite's on his cool down lap here, rolling it back around to the pit lane before he learns his fate. Will the win stand for Aidan Luthwaite? He crossed the line 5 seconds in front of Collard, 11 seconds in front of Hugh McLaughlin. I wonder what post-race penalties are available to race control and how far they might potentially drop Aidan Luthwaite. I think we've got to save the speculation for a little bit later, though, and just look at how they crossed the line as teammates Luthwaite and Dave Oliver, I'm sure, are going to try and get a little photo op here. So, from Mount Panorama in Panorama Drivers Club, first across the line with a big, big question mark beside his name. You're going to have to get a pen out and draw it yourself. It doesn't appear on the graphics. Aidan Luthwaite, ahead of Ben Collard, who fought him hard all the way till the end. Hugh McLaughlin there in third. Skurlock in fourth, had to fend off Dave Oliver, who couldn't quite Tokyo drift his way into fourth in the final corner. TCR winner then, James Foster, finishes sixth overall. Dean Ross, second in class. Adam Neal, sixth in GT4 class. And then we've got Dave Roberts, James Ruvolt, fourth in his class. Then they're a little bit more jumbled on screen, and Jay, everyone's lining up for the jump. Do we have a camera there?
hopefully there is, because we've got Kester Mack leading the little line to the jump. We'll have a look at keep looking at the results here. We'll probably see what happens here. They're now taking the jump. We'll do a running commentary of it. Kester Mack misses the jump. Probably going to cause. Oh.
Here they go. Bathurst tradition on the cool down lap. Everyone going for the jump. Massive carnage, but good fun and a stress relief after a 2-hour, 20-minute race on the mountain. About half of our field taking place in that. It is the world's most expensive scrap heap at the chase there. We come back to the finishing order and we'll let you see, but we'll try and point out our class winners here. So you see Martin Turner there in blue for American Muscle, ends up with the win there, 12 seconds ahead of Keith Lloyd. Adam Burhop gets third in that class, Daniel Stevens fourth in that class. You can see the sport winner, Harold Stadler, there. And across the page, second in that class was Calix Poon. In the end, almost half a lap down, just ahead of Angus Cook, Matthew O'Grady. Who else to point out here? Cam Dance finishes 2 laps down after starting 2 laps down. So persistence from him, despite, I'm sure, blue flags waving at him all day long, non-stop.
Yeah, well, also a little fact as well is that all 4 class winners finished within the top 20 overall. So with the Stadler just finishing 20th, you can see the rest of the cars there, and a couple of cars sadly not finishing the race today for the Panorama Drivers Club race number 8.
Let's go to a couple quick interviews right now. We'll save GT4 for a little bit later when we maybe know more We'll grab your TCR winner, James Foster. From a lot of damage on lap 1, James, to ending up bringing home the win, a lot happened in 2 hours, 20 minutes for you.
Yeah, that was the craziest one yet. Everything went wrong, and then everything went right, and then things went wrong, and then they went right again. Like, it was just crazy. Like, so many times I thought I was all set, and then so many times I thought it was all over. Like, it was just crazy, and yeah, just relieved that I've managed to win it.
Tell us about the fuel strategy in the TCR. Typically, you think it'd be a 2-stop. You were kind of forced into a 3-stop there, though.
Yeah, so you typically under full green conditions, you'll get 60 laps pretty much, but it's very rare that happens. A full green stint is 20 laps, so it's just a default 2-stopper, but then you throw in the VSCs and the safety car period. It sort of throws everything out, but there's a certain amount of minutes that you can be on track with a full tank, and provided you know that number and you pit at that number at the end, it doesn't matter how much you got on board. You can have a slightly shorter stop and yeah, get home.
Memory serves, you might be the gentleman carrying the best ranking in Panorama Drivers Club. That's going to continue for you, it looks like.
Yeah, so I've only lost PDC 3. Yeah, I've had a good run, and obviously now I'll lose points from PDC 2, but I'll gain the win today, and next one's PDC 9, so it'll be my chance to make amends for that 4th place and max out at 180 points. But yeah, this one was definitely the hardest of all of them. Like, James Rewalt drove a great race, had some bad luck, so did Dean Ross, and I had my own as well. So yeah, it was just, in the end, it went my way, but it was definitely difficult.
What is it about this circuit, this format in PDC that keeps bringing you back?
I just like the whole event. I like how many cars there are. Obviously love the Bathurst circuit, but you've got a good variety of cars at a good distance in performance. So the slower classes are slower by just enough. They're not too close, and obviously post the update with GT4, they're quite a bit quicker now compared to a TCR than before. So it's sort of made it even better in that sense. But yeah, just the whole event is just a blast. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Congratulations on the win. You couldn't finish on the overall podium this time because of those speed differences you mentioned, but a great race by you. Well done. Anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, obviously all the guys at Full Send Racing. It's been great driving for them since I've joined. It's been really good. Team 23 Race Coaching, Tuition and Setup Analysis is our new sponsor, and also on the side of the car you've got Frozen Speed Motorsport Photography. So thanks to Jochen for supporting the team.
There we go. Our TCR winner, James Foster. Can't stay away from it any longer. Got to bring in Aidan Luthwaite. First across the line in GT4, but I got to ask, how did you see that last lap, and do you think it's going to stand?
I think it'll stand. To be honest, I think it's very, very, very 50-50. I did look at the replay from both of our angles as well as from the external camera. I think, honestly, it's a racing incident. I mean, there was some room on the left he could have given. There was some room on the right I could have given. I've done that move a lot of times during the race and with no issues. But again, I think it's very 50-50.
Well, you had the pace for pole position. You had a lot of pace at the start of the race. You might have lost out a little bit on that first virtual safety car. Tell us about your strategy to get across the line first today.
Yeah, so I was able to start on pole, which was good. Got really unlucky, obviously, with the first virtual safety car. It pretty much came out as I was leaving, passing the pit entrance, which was not really handy for me. And I think the guys behind me got a free pit stop, and I had to make the stop the next lap under green flags, which is unfortunate. The second stop, I decided not to take tyres. I think the guys behind did, so I got a little bit of a gap, which was good. But unfortunately, that gap was then cut down a little bit with the safety car, well, entirely, unfortunately, by the safety car. But yeah, I was able to hold off in the end. I think, yeah, the guys behind had some good pace, and yeah.
First Panorama Drivers Club with the BMW M4 GT4. Regular SimSpeed viewers will know I've been driving it and very much enjoying it, but it's a great addition, I think, to the GT4 class, giving more diversity. What have you decided on the BMW for?
I just think that I've been driving the GTE a lot, so it's just a car that sort of suits me. The front engine, rear wheel drive layout. Personally, I think if you can drive it when it's really oversteering, there's some good pace to be had in it. But yeah, overall, I think it's a really good car.
Well, congratulations. You were definitely the fastest in GT4 today. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the guys from Synergy Sim Racing for helping me out with this. We've been practicing a little bit recently, and just all our sponsors as well.
Alrighty, well, we'll move down the classes once again. Grab our American Muscle winner, Marty Turner, and he is with me at Ott.
Well, Marty, that was an interesting race for you there. How did that race go for you?
Yeah, it was pretty stressful at times, battling with all the traffic and things like that. And yeah, I just kind of got gifted the win in the end. Because I think it was Keith made a mistake or something coming into the chase. So yeah, kind of doesn't feel like a proper win, to be honest, but I guess you kind of got to take them.
Yeah, it was Keith Lloyd who lost it out of the chase, but during the race as well, you were sitting behind Burhop for a bit before the last safety car came out. Did you feel like you had the pace to catch him, or were you just staying there and waiting for something to happen?
Yeah, I felt like I kind of didn't really have the pace. Occasionally, with a bit of traffic, it looked like I was kind of catching him a bit there, but yeah, I just don't know if I really had the legs to catch him in sort of outright pace.
Well, I think you're probably one of the most damaged out of our class winners so far today, with it being up front. But is there anyone you want to thank for the win today?
Just like to thank my teammates at Chicken Up Racing, Mitch and Ash, and yeah, Baz's Fencing, and Prestige Trophy and Badge Centre as well. Oh, and Sim Race Designs as well.
Well, that's okay. Well, good job on the win, Marty, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Yeah, cheers.
And the last of our class winners we got to speak to is from the sport class. We should have Harold Stadler with Nick's Garage.
Yeah, Harold, how you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Congratulations on the win on PDC. Is this your first one?
This is my first race in PDC, and of course, my first win. Yeah.
Yeah, no, excellent. That's absolutely awesome. Do you have any highlights from the race that you wanted to mention?
Well, the race was quite okay. No big issues with lapping. Yeah, it was quite a nice race overall. I just wondered. I just was a bit lucky in the last safety car that I got waved through, because I did not take tires in the stop, and the cars behind catched up, so I wasn't sure how this will end up. But yeah, I got a bit lucky with the safety car, got a wave around, and yeah, that was the race more or less.
No, awesome. Yeah, it was definitely well worth the risk. Can you see yourself doing potentially the American Muscle class or TCR in the future?
I think I will stick in the MX5 for the next races if I have the time to enter. But maybe in one of the later races, I may step up in in the class. So I like the diversity here in this series. So if I get the license for it, then I might step up. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Any sponsors or shout-outs that you wanted to give?
Yeah, of course, to our team Fitstyle Motorsports and our sponsors and partners, Texans, Renvale, Demon Tweaks, and Fight CRC. That's an awesome team. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Harold, and yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
There we are. We've spoken with, I want to say, all of our class winners. Definitely everyone who crossed the line first in their class. No update yet that I have received about GT4, but nonetheless, what an exciting race that we've had. I want to thank everyone for tuning in across our platforms, SimSpeed TV and Hoon TV, for Panorama Drivers Club PDC 8, brought to you by our sponsors, including Simfinity, Three Footed Monster, and the other ones there that I forget. Nick, give us the sponsors once again as we close out.
Yep, Worm Paints, driversclub.net.au, and me can do the last couple of ones.
Oh, you've caught me. You've caught me out here. Jesus.
Well, I think we've thrown the hot potato around enough there to wrap that one up. What a fantastic 2 hours, 20 minutes of multi-class racing on the mountain. PDC 9 is a month away, and we will be covering that one as well here on SimSpeed. We look forward to it. Sounds like all the drivers look forward to it. We look forward to seeing you again on SimSpeed. Got Circuit XL E-Series tonight, so make sure you subscribe. That one is going to be on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, thank you for tuning in and watching this awesome race. We'll see you again soon.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
No!